The domestic terrorist of Unit 207, i.e. the North Everett Precinct, the dwindling Department of Child Abusers, i.e. the domestic terrorist organization that is going to prison and is actively in Unit 207 right now. Going to prison and is actively in Unit 207 right now. Already preemptively attempting to criminally and illegally shut off this very live stream. Actively in Unit 207 right now. Already including the fat man that came at 11 and hasn't left with his paper instructions for the domestic terrorist organization known as the occupants of Unit 207. Known as the occupants of Unit 207. It appears that Unit 207 has already attempted to terminate this live stream and render it to be only 3 seconds long, but they're having a bit of an issue with that. It appears that Unit 207 has already attempted to terminate this live stream and render it to be only 3 seconds long, but they're having a bit of an issue with that. It appears that Unit 207 has terminated this live stream and render it to be only 3 seconds long, but they're having a bit of an issue with that. It appears that so again, it is 1:31 p.m. PST. If this live stream ends for any reason whatsoever, it's an act of terrorism. It's an act of obstruction. It's an act of evidence tampering. It's an act of witness intimidation. And per the premeditated and illegal crimes that have been reported over and over and over again, which the FBI has evidence of beyond a reasonable doubt, it's also part of their final breaking and entering, something they are already guilty of, just like extortion, fraud, kidnapping, child abuse, child endangerment, failure to act, and a litany of other charges, some of which will be surprises on their soon-to-be unsealed indictments. My front door has remained closed, as has been instructed by the FBI since January 2nd, and will remain closed until these imbeciles are apprehended and or they perpetrate their final count of breaking and entering. The third one, which again, as they have premeditated, the souls are apprehended. As they have premeditated, it has consistently been planned to do it while criminally and illegally shutting off this live stream. There's been one exception to my front door being open since January 2nd, and you know when that was. It was when the 2 disabled minors they've been abusing for 13 months that they facilitated the premeditated and illegal kidnappings of, which they are all going to be charged for. The FBI is confident beyond a reasonable doubt they're getting convictions for all of the child abuse and the kidnappings. The entire domestic terrorist organization, if you've missed it, the FBI has had me state explicitly of Unit 207, quote, they are not nearly as smooth as they like to imagine. Of the North Everett Precinct, there will be an exodus at the North Everett Precinct. Quote, most officers take an oath to serve and protect. The North Everett Precinct takes an oath to abuse and deflect. That constitutes domestic terrorism. The FBI authorized me this morning to file another police report and have it double as an addendum. And they authorized me to point out what all of these people who are going to prison for the rest of their lives have not yet been told by the lawyers facing federal disbarment, who they keep taking unlawful directives from, that you guys have already been classified a domestic terrorist organization. None of you is allowed to fly into and land and go through customs of any country that doesn't have extradition, nor have you been able to for over 6 months. Now, you need to read the latest police report. It's on facebook.com/Mystic Gwen Loves Only You. Again, I'd read it here, but the fat man and the other domestic terrorists upstairs are going to try and criminally and illegally shut this off. Then they may retroactively erase it. All to do what? To guarantee that they won't be eligible for parole and that they will incur the maximum penalties that every domestic terrorist organization, but especially those in positions of municipal power, have coming their way. Remember, the only reason you idiots haven't been detained is because they want you to perpetrate a third breaking and entering, and because you've been doing shit like this for 72 hours, which guarantees some of you are going to prison that weren't until 72 hours ago. There is no escape. There is no immunity. The Snohomish County Sheriff's Office, the Seattle Federal Marshals, the FBI, and far more individuals than you're aware of at the Snohomish Superior Courthouse all know that you are all going to prison for domestic terrorism, for stalking, for child abuse, and the list goes on and on. Just like they know that my front door has nails in it to make it so that the door won't open in the event that you try and use my disabled sons you've been abusing specific to their disabilities for 13 months and facilitated the premeditated kidnapping that is still illegal and still very much ongoing from breaking and entering again. The FBI knows everything that's going on. They just love it when you lie in court and in documents. That's why the woman that was looking at 3 years in prison has been facing 80 plus since August. And that's why you've been following her instructions, even at 1:55 in the morning when the lady upstairs was calling her frantically to get instructions to terminate the live streams. Nothing you do is going to get away from your looming convictions and the rest of your lives in a federal prison. So if they end this live stream, I'm still recording on the Lenovo ThinkPad. But again, you want to check out that police report. They criminally and illegally erased a 20-hour recording. According to the FBI, this is because they're desperate. They're attempting to obstruct justice, tamper with evidence, and do a variety of things to create that non-existent federal defense. And all it's doing is adding more evidence of your criminal intent, your domestic terrorist organization, and your aggravated criminal conspiracy. Aggravated criminal conspiracy. Now, if this live stream ends for any reason without me orally telling you the end time and that a new live stream is commencing in 90 seconds or less, you know who's to blame. The people you're going to see on the news and in the newspaper in less than a month. Before the middle of March, they will be in prison. They will have been arraigned. So again, go to facebook.com/mystic. Gwen loves only you. Or if it's still accessible, I can't tell on my end because of the hackers responsible upstairs who are continuing to tell themselves we can just keep blaming her multiple times convicted stalker and abuser or some of the other people who've been ordered to pay her money for hacking her things. No. You've never had that option, guys, because the FBI has been investigating all of you because since the inception of your crime sprees against me, you've not been part of any sort of legitimate operation. You've been part of a domestic terrorist organization, an aggravated criminal conspiracy, and you are all going to share in those consequences. Following unlawful directives provides zero immunity. The FBI has told you that a variety of ways, and yet here we are, literally waiting for your final breaking and entering, for me to get paid and get food, and for you all to go to prison and bye-bye. Don't believe me? Buy tickets to Indonesia and then fly there. And then when your ass is sent back on another plane and you're seated next to a marshal in the sky, you'll have no doubt. The door is nailed shut. It's 1:38 p.m. Don't forget to check out that police report. It was also legally required to be filed in court, but this domestic terrorist organization, they like to prevent things that are legally required to happen. And that's part of the reason the Seattle Federal Marshals has classified them as the real threat to the judiciary that they are, past, present, future. The reason the Seattle Federal Marshals has classified them as the real threat to the judiciary that they are, past, present, future. The title of this video is 1:28 p.m. Domestic Terrorist Organization equals Unit207/NEP/et al. New addendum. Report as of 3 a.m. We got updates And then we've got a portion of the latest police report. This is the most important part. This is not an operation. This is a criminal enterprise and domestic terrorist organization. It is imperative to state unequivocally that the actions documented herein and in all prior filings are not part of any legitimate law enforcement operation, nor are they justifiable under any legal pretext, not under any legal pretext. This is an aggravated criminal conspiracy, a criminal enterprise, and constitutes the actions of a domestic terrorist organization. The perpetrators, including officers of the North Everett Precinct, every imbecile in Unit 207, and their co-conspirators, are engaged in a systematic and sustained campaign of felony stalking and harassment, constant surveillance, intimidation tactics, and deliberate disruption of my peace and safety, cyber crimes and evidence tampering, illegal termination of live streams, erasure of recordings, and hacking attempts to obstruct justice and conceal their criminal activities. Obstruction of justice, rejection of legitimate police reports, fraudulent court maneuvers, and concerted efforts to impede any investigation into their crimes. Child abuse and exploitation, the continued and deliberate exploitation of my disabled sons to perpetrate felonies and further this criminal conspiracy. Illegal detainment and kidnapping. Ongoing illegal detainment within my own home and prior actionable kidnappings of my disabled sons. Civil rights violations and ADA violations, systematic deprivation of my civil rights, and targeted discrimination based on disability, financial fraud and extortion, attempts to extort and defraud me through various illegal means. 4. No immunity for unlawful directives. Let it be explicitly stated, following unlawful directives from superiors or co-conspirators provides absolutely no immunity. For these criminal acts, every individual involved, regardless of their position or perceived authority, is personally and criminally liable for their participation in this conspiracy. The willingness to obstruct justice, tamper with evidence, and intimidate a federal witness only deepens their culpability and ensures the maximum penalties under the law. Penalties under the law. It is 1:43 p.m. Quite frankly, because of your guys' criminal conduct in the last 72 hours, I feel like all of you are going to prison. I know the FBI said over 50% of you blew the whistle, but if you blew the whistle and then you've been participating in this, there is no way you're not going to prison. So I hope it was worth it. It's changed nothing other than proven further things you're going to prison for. Nothing other than proven further things you're going to prison for. which, if you notice, since November, the FBI has stated is the only reason you have not yet been detained. Which, if you notice, since November, the FBI has stated is the only reason you have not yet been detained. We are literally waiting for your final breaking and entering, and then all of your asses get swept up in a blitz sweep. We are literally waiting for your final breaking and entering, and then all of your asses get swept up in a blitz sweep. We are literally we are waiting for an unspecified date that is sometime in the month of March when the FBI would like to detain you all, which is when some of the people they are most excited to abdicate from their positions will be in the Snohomish Superior Courthouse. They are most excited to abdicate from their positions will be in the Snohomish Superior Courthouse. Your conduct over the last 72 hours highly suggests the attempt for that final breaking and entering, which has always been planned and premeditated and reported to coincide with you criminally and illegally shutting off the live streams. It's been planned and premeditated and reported to coincide with you criminally and illegally shutting off the live streams. So I tell you what, we all hope you do that today so you can all go to jail today. Off the live streams. So I tell you what, we all hope you do that today so you can all go to jail today. And then you can be arraigned tomorrow. I can be paid, my sons can be returned, and you can all be banned from being here. And then you can be arraigned tomorrow. I can be paid, my sons can be returned, and you can all be banned from being here. Now it's 1:46 p.m. PST. This live stream ends for any reason without my oral statement of an end time and the commencement of a new one in 90 seconds or less. It's the domestic terrorists, child abusers, kidnappers, stalkers, hostage holders, thieves, fraudsters, et al. Upstairs, and those from the North Everett Precinct and Prosecutor's Office coming over here to provide instructions for crimes they don't know how to perpetrate alone. I've been up since the middle of the night because if you missed it, go back some live streams. When I went to bed at 9 p.m., one of the females upstairs that's going to prison with Mrs. 80 plus years was premeditating to criminally and illegally shut off a live stream after I fell asleep, and then she did. And that live stream ran for 5 hours. And then as you can see in the live stream that I initiated after that was allowed to be initiated, she criminally and illegally erased over 3.5 hours off of that live stream, making it appear to only be an hour-long video, even though you can clearly see it was 5 hours. And the only reason they do that is the same as it's been since August. It is to obstruct justice. And the only reason they do that is the same as it's been since August. It is to obstruct justice, to tamper with evidence. That is the same as it's been since August. It is to obstruct justice, to tamper with evidence, to intimidate an FBI informant who reported their domestic terrorist organization before they made actionable the kidnappings. Reported their domestic terrorist organization before they made actionable the kidnappings. Yes, and to further incriminate themselves and others. Yes, and to further incriminate themselves and others, which is exactly why they haven't been detained yet. Incriminate themselves and others, which is exactly why they haven't been detained yet. Incriminate themselves, and is the only reason. Now, I am recording on a Lenovo ThinkPad like I have been. Unlike these live streams, it hasn't been interrupted. And I'm not kidding, guys. Like, I wish I could say, oh, haha, I'm just joking, whistleblowers, you're fine, you're not going to prison. I'm not joking, guys. The FBI literally had me tell you guys explicitly over and over and over again, just in the last week, that there is no immunity for following unlawful directives. That tells me you just fucked yourself out of avoiding prison and being paid if you participated in the last 3 days of bullshit. I mean, that's speculation, but why else would they be so emphatic about my addressing it over and over and over again? And your personal liability. And what you should really be doing right now is hauling ass down to Seattle, downtown, and walking into the Seattle FBI field office. Because you know all the top dogs, they don't go to work on Friday. Not with the FBI.
I was really good at table tennis.
Ha ha ha! I must be psychic because I knew you were gonna come by today. Well, step in from the cold. Don't be shy. Have I got just the most wonderful things for you? And wouldn't you know it? I must be psychic because I knew. First up, a little miracle of technology that has been described to me as a vlog camera. Now, I know what a camera is, obviously. Vlog camera. The vlog part. Perhaps this story might shed some light. I call it Return to Sender. A little miracle of technology that has been described to me as a vlog camera. And I know what a camera is, obviously.
Right. So my neighbor is one of those annoying wannabe YouTube personalities. You know the type. Over the years, I've seen him cough out cinnamon, whatever that was about, lay flat on the hood of his car as it slowly creeps down the driveway, and the one where he doused himself in lukewarm water, all the while screaming, epic win, or epic fail, or epic maintenance of the status quo, for all I know. I can get tiring to watch him go about his shenanigans in the pursuit of viral fame, but, you do you. He's a teeny guy. When I first saw him, I honestly thought he was a kid. Anyway, so when he knocked on my door the other day, he told me he was going away for a few weeks, and he asked that I get his mail. And honestly, it was a relief. I cannot explain the peace of mind I had knowing that I didn't have to brace myself for any of his stupidity for a while. I was always afraid his stunts would wind up bleeding over into my life. So, things were pretty normal for the first couple of days. He received a few bills, a bit of spam, and what I can only assume was his birthday card. Then one evening, I got home to find a cardboard box waiting on his front porch. In big red letters was written, "Return to Sender." I admit, I had trouble lifting the box on my own. It was really freaking heavy. So I lugged it across the road to my house. That was even harder. And I quickly realized that there was no way I was going to drag it up the stairs and through my front door. So I decided I'd leave the package in my garage. And it wasn't like I kept my car in there. The garage door is a piece of shit that refuses to open without a good thug and a whack. It was less trouble just leaving the car in the driveway than it was to fight with the garage door every morning and night. In hindsight, I I should have set the package down while I struggled to open the tricky door, but you know how it is when you got a good grip on something. No point in setting it down if you don't have to, right? So it was as I kicked the door open for a third time that I lost my grip on the package and it fell to the ground. I heard a light crack inside, and I think I cursed. Shit, fuck, something like that. I hoped I hadn't broken anything important, but I figured I just wouldn't tell my neighbor about it and let him assume the break happened en route. So, hands-free, I finally managed to get the garage door unstuck, and boy, did it screech in protest as it rolled up and over me. And I dragged the box the rest of the way, setting in the corner for whenever my neighbor would come back to claim it. And then I forgot all about it. Until a few days passed, that is. And I'm not sure exactly how long it took for the smell to waft in from the crack under the garage to house door, but it came in slow progression. It was a sickly sweet odor, similar to a skunk, and for the first few days after I smelled it, I genuinely assumed that's exactly what it was. Roadkill that had left its mark on my house. It was only when I realized that the scent was growing more intense instead of fading that I went looking for a source. That's when I opened the garage door, and that's when the odor knocked me back, holding my nose. And the culprit, it was not hard to identify. The only change in my garage was the box in the corner. I remember thinking it must have been one of those, the meat of the month subscription boxes. The meat must have gone rancid from being left out of the fridge for so long. And, how much meat could have been in there for the box to have been so large and heavy? An entire freaking cow? So, I covered my nose as I approached the box, a pair of scissors in my hands. I probably wouldn't have needed them to open it, though, as it had become really soggy at the bottom. Enough to poke through with a finger, but I was not about to poke my finger into spoiled meat juices. That soggy bottom was the reason I had to open up the box in the first place. If I tried to drag it out whole, everything would just spill onto the floor. I was going to have to dump the pieces of meat one garbage bag at a time and take them down to the dumpster, a process I was not looking forward to. So my scissors tore through the tape along the top of the cardboard box, and I thought the smell couldn't get any worse, but as I flipped the flaps open, oh God, I discovered a whole new gamut of stink. It was like opening a burning oven, but instead of a heat wave, I was met with waves of piss, sweat, shit, and putrefaction. It was so bad that I staggered back and had to force down the puke beginning to come out of me. I don't think I could have handled that scent mingling with the horrors coming out of the box. I'm not ashamed to admit I ran out of the door for a breath of fresh air, but in the short time I'd spent in the garage, the smell had become so ingrained in the fabric of my clothes that it clung to me like a shadow, and nothing I tried could keep the smell out of my nostrils. Not air fresheners, not a face mask, not 3 showers and a change of clothes. Every second that box lay open in my garage was another second the smell was allowed a foothold into my home. I had to bite the bullet. So I returned to the garage, the flaps of the box still open, as though inviting me to look. I was prepared. I had a clothespin pinning my nostrils shut, a garbage bag in one hand, and the strongest cleaner I could find in the other, and long, long rubber gloves to keep my skin from having to touch whatever was inside. But as it turns out, I needed none of those things. I wouldn't have to touch or clean the contents of that box. I would only have to suffer the nightmares every night. You see, there was meat in that box, but it didn't come from a cow or a pig. No, it was worse than that. It was my neighbor, dead. Still in one piece, but dead. So I called the cops, and naturally they took me in for interrogation. It's kind of hard not to suspect the woman with a corpse in her garage, after all. Thankfully, they soon realized that I wasn't involved. My DNA might have been all over that box, and the smell might have left a mark throughout my own house, but there was one piece of irrefutable evidence in my neighbor's own hands that proved my innocence. A vlogging camera. They showed me the footage just once. I'm not sure if they were allowed to, or if they felt so bad for me they figured it couldn't hurt. Either way, I saw it. So my neighbor was sitting in a box outside of a shipping facility, laughing as he told the world how he was going to mail himself across state lines. He brought pee bottles, food, a pillow, a few flashlights. His friend, some guy I'd seen at his place a couple of times to help him with his stunts, he closed the lid and presumably dropped him off for shipment. Throughout the next couple of hours or days, I'm not sure. My neighbor recorded a few short clips about his progress. I remember him saying, I think I'm on a truck now. I can feel it moving. Must be in a warehouse. Pretty warm here, but still got plenty of food, that kind of stuff. And then, on that last entry, the box toppled over. He broke his neck, and that was it. The camera recorded until either the memory card got too full or the battery died. There's one thing that I didn't tell the police after they showed me the video. One thing I heard in the footage that will haunt me to the day I die. Just after the tumble that broke his neck, I heard the familiar screeching sound of my garage door.
My, a tragic tale indeed. I've been told people have been dying to subscribe to his channel. You'll have to dig around a bit to find it, as his content is kinda buried. There's time for one more. Let me go and tend to another customer, and I'll be all yours in a spell. Dying to subscribe to his channel.
Last year, Art the Clown blew up the box office with a Christmas sleigh ride for the ages. And now on Valentine's Day, Art is slashing his way into your home. That's right. On February 14th, Terrifier 3 makes its official.
I'm going to go try and go to sleep even though it's 2 in the afternoon.
Listeners can
My
get
Lenovo
3 months
ThinkPad
of
is still
Screenbox for
recording.
just $2.99 per month.
I've got
While
this
you're
live
on
stream's volume on behind the podcast. I don't know if that'll cue me off to anything. Again, my front door literally has been nailed shut since the last breaking and entering, and it has remained shut since January 2nd. And I'm under orders to keep it shut until you're all arrested, or you break in and are then arrested in less than 10 minutes.
It's been known to, well, you'll discover that yourself. It's a box of videotapes from WSB TV of Atlanta. The only to survive, in fact. All remaining copies were ordered to be destroyed. For this reason, I issue you a note of caution with a story you're about to tune into called 12 Minutes. All remaining copies were ordered to be destroyed. For this reason, I issue you a note of caution with a story you're about to tune into called 12 Minutes.
In the fall of 1987, local news channel WSB TV2 of Atlanta, Georgia, was attempting to fill a scheduling gap in their Sunday morning lineup. After a few solicitations by local business owners, they decided to allow the young Reverend Marley Sachs to take the available hour block to do a religiously themed show. It premiered October 18th with little promotion. The show was standard religious fare and consisted of the Reverend sitting in a simple chair, reading passages from the Bible to the camera and discussing their interpretation and significance to our modern day-to-day life. The show received a reasonable number of viewers and continued to be shown until early December. It was then that the studio began to receive extremely strange complaints from viewers of Words of Light with the Reverend Marley Sachs. The calls were from women and women only, who vaguely referred to uncomfortable feelings they had at very specific intervals during the program. They described feelings of nausea, back pain, dizziness, and blurred vision. These callers, for no discernible reason, were convinced that it was the viewing of this program that was causing these symptoms. It was later determined after 3 weeks of complaints that these feelings were happening at roughly 12-minute intervals during the course of the program. The small studio staff checked all recording equipment, both audio and video, and found nothing faulty. When the Reverend was made aware of these incidents, he merely shrugged and stated cryptically that some can't handle the voice of God. The head of the studio, at a loss to explain the cause of these complaints, decided to continue running the program. By February, the viewership had dropped sharply, and it was decided to pull the plug on the show. The studio head figured it would be more prudent to spend as much time as possible on the news story that had the other two local news networks abuzz: the miscarriage epidemic. Starting somewhere in November, the number of healthy pregnant women miscarrying in the Atlanta metropolitan area had reached over 300.
That's why some investigators are privately worried about this investigation.
The CDC could find no discernible cause for this terrifying occurrence. The Reverend took the show's cancellation with what could be only described as abject indifference. When informed, he made no protest, merely nodded, almost knowingly. He left the studio after the last episode was filmed without so much as a word and dropped off the face of the earth. No one ever heard from him again. Not his former congregation or any member of the church. The studio moved on, filling the slot with an infomercial, and continued to concentrate on the miscarriage story.
Describe this story as horrifying would be an
A year and a half later, an intern at the WSB studios discovered the tapes of the Words of Light and began going through them in an attempt to find stock footage for an upcoming piece the station was doing on the impact religion had on the city. The Atlanta incident, as the miscarriage epidemic became known in medical journals, petered out 3 months after the studio canceled Reverend Sachs' show and had already begun to fade from the public consciousness. As the intern went through the tapes, he accidentally made a disturbing discovery about the footage. While attempting to stop one recording at 10 minutes and 45 seconds, he mistakenly jammed the fast-forward button down. While the footage whizzed by, he attempted to pry up the button with a screwdriver. Just as he succeeded, the tape stopped at 32 minutes and 1 second. The intern actually fell out of his chair when he looked up at what was frozen on the screen. The image of a badly decomposed, severed head, filling up the entire frame. After he collected himself, he moved the film back a few frames, then forward, and realized that his mind was not playing tricks on him. He began going through the rest of the recording and soon discovered that at exactly 12-minute intervals, the image would appear for one frame. One of the still frames of the severed head. Thinking it's some practical joke being played on the new guy, he presented it to one of the film technicians, ready to be mocked. The technician was just as puzzled as him. No one had touched the footage since the cancellation of the show. After the studio had closed for the night, the intern convinced the tech to help him go through all the tapes of the Words of Light. They discovered that every single episode had this same horrifying anomaly. They also realized that as the show progressed, the image had become more disgusting. As maggots began to eat away at the loose flesh, and pieces of hair and skin seemed to have fallen off exponentially. The tech made clear to the intern what they were seeing was technically impossible, since the film itself showed absolutely no signs of splicing. And he himself had been in every filming of the show, and knew of no time when this image could have been inserted into the frame. All of this was presented to the studio head, who, fearing for some kind of backlash over allowing this to get on the air, ordered all the tapes destroyed. He told the intern and the tech that he had no interest in knowing who did it at this point, only that covering their collective asses is all that's important now. He demanded that they mention this to no one. The tech easily moved on, remembering the incident as a darkly funny personal anecdote. But the intern wouldn't let it go. He made copies of as many tapes as he could before they were wiped, and took them to see if he could find anything else that might point to who did this, or why they would. A week later, he attempted to rope the tech into helping him again, saying that he believed he had discovered something even more disturbing than the images themselves. When the single frames were edited together in chronological order, the head's mouth appeared to be moving, as if trying to form words. The tech, fearing for his job, told him to get rid of the copies and not talk about it again. A week later, police responded to a 911 call made by an elderly woman in one of the Atlanta suburbs at dusk. She had heard horrible noises coming from her next-door neighbor's house where a young couple lived. She told the emergency responder that the wife was pregnant, and she was terrified that something had happened. When the officers arrived on the scene 20 minutes later, they found no lights on in the window, and the front door ajar. They moved in slowly and made their way into the living room. Inside, they found a young woman, dead, with her abdomen slashed open. The wound was jagged, and a trail of blood led from the body to the couch on the far end of the room. There sat her husband, the studio intern, naked, the corpse of his unborn child at his feet, dying. In his hand, he held the rusty piece of metal siding he had used to gut his pregnant wife. The television was on, playing an 18-second loop of silent footage of a decomposing head mouthing some unintelligible words. The story at the police precinct to this day goes that the intern kept saying under his breath over and over again as they led him away, "The light of God calls them."
I'm going to stretch my hand out to you now and believe with all my heart that God is going to work a miracle for you. Reach out. Let's make a contact of faith and believe God by the power of the Spirit of God, by the blood of
Thank you for your patronage. Hope you enjoyed your new relic as much as I've enjoyed passing along its sordid history. It does come with our usual warning, however. Absolutely no refunds, no exchanges, and we won't be held liable for anything that may or may not occur while the object is in your possession. If you've got an artifact with mysterious properties, perhaps it's accompanied by a history of bizarre and disturbing circumstances, maybe you'd be interested in dropping it and its story by the shop to share with other customers. Please reach out to antiquariumshop@gmail.com. A member of our team will be in touch. Till next time, we'll be waiting for you whenever you close your eyes in the space between sleep and dream. During regular business hours, of course, or by appointment, only for you, our best customer. You have a good night now.
The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings, Lot 019, 12 minutes. Written by Robokai. Starring Dan Walks and Reverend Marley Sachs. Engineering, production, and sound design by Trevor Shand. Return to Sender. Written by Manon Lysett. Starring Allison Cossett. Engineering, production, and sound design by Lauren Shand. Featuring Stephen Knowles as the Antique Dealer. Theme music by the Newton Brothers. Additional sound effects by AV Productions. Additional music by Coag, Kevin McLeod, Tim Kulik, Trevor Shand, and Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings is created and curated by Trevor and Lauren Shand. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at AntiquariumPod. Call the Antiquarium at 646-481-7197. Trevor Shand and Carl Casey at White Bat Audio. The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings is created and curated by Trevor and Lauren Shand. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at AntiquariumPod.
Angel Breeze y McDonald's tienen la clave para el post-game meal de campeones. Una chupiza con salsa barbecue y tocino, papitas y un refresco. Los pros le llaman el Angel Breeze Special. Llévate el Angel Breeze Special solo en McDonald's. Invitamos participantes por tiempo limitado.
What's this all about?
What about nightmares? Honest. They can't tear out your soul anymore.
Ominous Thrill, a full-cast anthology of horror, thrillers, and suspense.
And he has to prove you up to me.
I didn't do anything.
No!
Character-driven tales from the dark side.
I'm no psycho.
I could feel them under my skin and I had to cut them out.
We can't help her.
We're leaving. What? Risa, what?
A man's severed head.
I need the light. You want me to fall down the stairs?
No. I want to push you.
I love you so much.
Ominous Thrill. Available now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and everywhere. Thrill you later.
Hello, friend. Always taking the time to pay me a visit, and let me tell you, I appreciate it more than you know. That said, I am terribly sorry, but due to some unforeseen circumstances, we had to close the store a bit early today. Get ourselves into a bit of a mess in the back that is fixing to take a good amount of time to clean up. Tell you what, though, my old friend Skinner just opened a comic book shop a few doors down from here, and they're open for another few hours. He'd love to have you. He dropped off the latest terrifying issue of Skin Crawl, and wow, it is a good one indeed. For the inconvenience, I am passing it along to you. The antiquarium will open back up a bit later this week, and I have a couple of extraordinary consignments that I just know you'll be enchanted by. Till then, enjoy Skin Crawl, and stop on back here soon.
Follow Bloody FM Skin Crawl on Spotify, Apple, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to Skin Crawl Radio Drama Podcast, the greatest radio drama podcast of all time. Created by Skin. It will scare the hell out of you.
Oh, Lord, you came back again, eh? Well, good news is, I have a lot to tell you. The bad news is, it's gonna scare the hell out of you. Just kidding. Maybe. I don't know. I guess it depends on how tough you are, what kind of insane trauma you sustained that may have prepared you for this tale. I guess I don't really know what's going on. I have confused myself again. Okay. Here's the deal. You go hanging out in the swamp, you're bound to find out what the swamp has to offer. And holy cripes, does the swamp have something to offer? Well, a couple of things, actually, but I'm not trying to spoil nothing. You're gonna have to spoil it yourself. I mean, you just chill back and listen, homie. You gotta buckle down and buckle up or whatever to absorb the fun. This is a story I call Welcome Back. I'm not trying to spoil it. You're gonna have to spoil it yourself. I mean,
I suppose in your case, chum is a bit too accurate, eh? Get it? You didn't say trick or treat. Annual college try, I guess. Come on in, you little routine. Just don't get near the toe-headed one. That one's a biter. Virtual biter. Funniest little sprig of human deal to ever be wrapped in a dime store Power Rangers costume. Everyone, meet my old friend. He ain't much to look at, but boy, howdy's the old hunk of swap meat reliable. Every Halloween, 9 p.m. on the nose. You can set a clock by him.
Oh, fantastic. What the fuck is this thing? It reeks like an impacted bear collar. Listen, if you're going to imbue me with the magical gift of sentient awareness, couldn't you do me a solid and turn down the volume on my sense of smell?
Have you met Orin? She's my newest familiar, although she's an opossum, so I suppose the O might be silent.
Wow. Never heard that one before. You should get out of the witching business and into comedy. Like, yes.
Silence! Or Ren, whatever. And make room for our friends. Here you go, chum. Take a load off on this stool. Mind you don't get too cozy with the cauldrons. Hot stuff happening in there. Can I offer you anything, chum? Tea, coffee, an opportunity for at least a cursory 10 minutes something. All right. We're all here. Let's get ready. Welcome, boys, to my humble home, a shanty of magical discourse, a dwelling of unfathomable crossroads, the likes of which shall plume your very souls and lead you to realizations, the depths of which you may scarcely comprehend, and yet shall linger forever in the silence of your darkest dreams, the shattering of your grief.
Such theatrics for a woman who had an absolute meltdown this morning when she couldn't find the corn cob holders.
Those are heirlooms.
Heirlooms? From who? Moses?
As I was saying, boys, there are many crossroads in these mortal lives of yours, and you two seem to have tricked or treated yourselves into one. Always expecting the treats, never the tricks. Before you are 2 cauldrons, each bubbling with a syrupy ring, and further he holds the freight of moral comeuppance. Each impaled with the saplings of a cursed tree, the exhalings of witchery.
You're making candy apples? Aces. I've rummaged my share of them from the trash bins at the county fair. Crunchy.
Crunchy indeed. Now, before the clock strikes midnight, each of you will make a choice. Shall you slowly confession from the cauldron of the right, or shall your bite be lifted from the cauldron on the left? Your choice shall change your future in ways you cannot comprehend.
A confection is a delicacy prepared with sweet ingredients as opposed to savory, such as a candy or dessert.
Candy. Yeah, the candy is. Listen here, you fresh man. I've been giving the same rigmarole each Halloween for years, and I'm not going back to the drawing board because flip phones and beanie babies have run into your skulls to the point where you don't know a confectionery from a cesspit.
That's like an open air house.
Let us now gaze into Cauldron the First. Within this ancient vessel is an elixir prepared from the dew of 1,000 fairy circles through the honey of the long extinct death knell. infused with ingredients so sacred they must not be named by the tongue of...
Cinnamon. It's cinnamon.
Yes, well, sacred and illustrious cinnamon from the trenches of...
Corner store in town next to the vacuum repair place.
The components of the brew aren't important, okay? What's important are the totalities of their combined powers, okay? Now gaze upon Chum, this foul wretch of suffering eternal, and allow me to regale you with the tale of how this abomination came to be. For it was once a sprite adolescent, much like yourselves, who sat before my ancestors as you sit before me, and chose, when presented this goblin, to imbibe from this very cauldron. Chum, I bestow upon you the power of speech, but 'tis a temporary keepers of speech, Chum, before the spell of words ebbs from your
You know, when I had this option, I don't remember any candied apples. Rather, the concoction was boiled down into hardened, button-shaped wads, and there was certainly no cinnamon.
Yes, boiled sweets, they were called. Kids are more particular about their candy nowadays.
What a time to be alive. You call this living. Gather round, young lads. Oh, I suppose you can't gather much around tied to those chairs. I'll come closer.
Whoa there, Sally. That's enough gathering. Kids are more particular about their candy.
Oh, there, Chum. I've granted you the power of speech, but be careful with that tongue. It's got a lot of mileage on it.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was a lad of nearly 15, and for a fortnight,
He means 2 weeks.
throughout the village, all hands worked busily to prepare for the arrival of All Hallows Eve, a day of merrymaking and trickery enjoyed by the youngest babe to the eldest elder. 'Twas the kiss of autumn. Nights had become crisp. The woods round the village, cloaked with blanket of leaves and fallow, the color of winter golds. In the windows of each hut and shop front glowed the jolly countenance of pumpkin jacks, warding us from ghouls and goblins that bathe the full moon with their howls that shivered the sky. In the fields, scarecrows stuffed with straw and manure kept watch, banishing unholy spirits from the fruits of our labors and the grains of prosperity. Bonfires stood ready, their pyres reaching towards the sky in preparation. I said what I meant, and I find myself unimpressed by the efficacy of these gags.
Stay where you are, or you'll be far more impressed by our gagging. And you'll need a mop.
No need to be hurtful. You tree rat. Don't smell as a metal mark yourself. On this day, I had returned from my morning slopping of the hogs, when the window neath, one gray thatched roof a ways apart from the village, what I'd not yet noticed in the past. What did I see peering at me through the frost-laced panes? But the gaze of a buxom lass, her eyes drawn in a fashion as if to say, "Come hither, lad." Myself, being a young gentleman of some honor, I did not leer, but merely returned her wink, tipped my hat, and again hurried upon my way. But her countenance would not leave my mind. The soft glimmer in her eyes, the warmth of her smile, the cascading of her gleaming hair. From that brief glimpse, she haunted my dreams, both waking and in slumber, and all thoughts of other screen-yard lasses flew from my mind. I saw her smile in the grinning pumpkin jacks, her shadow in the lumens of our scarecrow guardians, and in the twigs of the holy bonfires I saw the gentle beckoning of her elegant finger, bidding me, "Come hither, boy, come hither."
Ugh, give me a break. The only glimmer you're conjuring these days is when you pass gas too close to the fireplace.
The next night seized a sudden and irresistible draw. I rose from my bed in the dark of night. Still in my bedclothes, I stole through the cobblestone streets of the village and beyond, into the whispering woods, and found myself standing in the moonlight upon the very site where I was certain the thatched hut once stood. But what was this? No hut could be found. Only a crumbling foundation where perhaps a hut once stood, grown over with roots and fallen logs. To my knees I sank, and in my misery I buried my head in my hands and cried out, "Oh, shall I never again lay eyes upon the creature of my dreams?"
People were very dramatic back then.
We didn't have a lot happening on the entertainment front.
Not even one of those hoops with a stick, huh? Rough.
When there, a glow fell upon the earth beneath my knees, as if an angel had descended from the heavens. I raised my eyes to find the beautiful maiden. Despite the late hour, the sweet chirping of songbirds filled my ears, and my soul danced with the music of her smile. Laughing as she took my hands, she helped me as I stood and hugged me to her bosom. She whispered into my ear, "How strong your embrace, my darling, for I have yearned to feel your touch since our glances last crossed." To her I replied, "And I have yearned for yours." Then her eyes became sad, and she said, "But alas, I am afraid." I murmured, "What have you to fear, dear maiden?" "It is the totems and wards of the village," cried she. "The grinning pumpkins with demon flame leaping within their bellies, the fearsome scarecrows like crucified corpses, the pyres set to roar alight in foul smoke of elm and bones. I lie awake in the night, unable to find peace or slumber. Will you help me, my prince? Will you help me rid our fair village of these pagan blights, so that we may find serenity in each other's arms?" "But, darling," I replied, "these talismans are not for us to dread in our God-fearing hearts. They are friendly to us, mere precautions against the haunts and spirits that may emerge in the chill of the harvest moon, to dance amongst our crops and wreak havoc upon the prosperity of our village. They are guards to us, protectors. Surely you may fear them not." The maiden held me closer to her bosom.
We're okay. We got it out of our systems. Keep going, Smelly.
"Oh, strong boy of the village, but they do haunt me. Their twisted forms torment me, and scarce can I find a moment of serenity with which to pursue thoughts else. Thoughts of love, or passion, or a moment to bathe my skin in perfumed bath, or to remove my nightclothes in order to launder them properly. Will you not come to my aid, dearest, and help me purge these evil vestiges from our township?" What could I say but agree to help? My head swam with the smell of her. I was but a puppet in her hands.
You could have played dead. I find that playing dead resolves most awkward social situations.
Quiet, ladies. Another interruption, and you will see the play.
She led me through the still woods. So swiftly I was awed that We did not stumble upon the roots or rocks, almost as if our feet did not touch the ground. The glowing face of the autumn moon illuminated our steps by some strange trickery of the light, such that I could scarcely see her shadow upon the ground, but only my own. She keeps my pace, my gestures, even the cadence of my footsteps. I thought to myself, as if we are garments cut from the same cloth. What a fortunate lad I am, having found such a match and such a beauty. We crept through the cobblestone streets until we came upon the rows of shops in the square of town. Festive gourds and harvest tableaus lined the shop fronts. Cinnamon-scented brooms and pumpkin jacks, tallow candles with black singed wicks still smelling of some from the evening's burnings. See how they mock us with their grins, breathe the mysterious beauty. But milady, I said.
You did not. You did not say milady.
Listen, I get half an hour a year with the power to say anything other than and what do you think I do in yonder swamp for the other 364 days and 23 hours, except practice telling this tale? Knit sweaters? Pick my nose?
Well, obviously not that, as there's so little nose left to pick.
Come on, cut a ghoul a little slack, won't you?
When you put it like that, by all means, chum, my snout is sealed. Regale us.
But milady, I said, they're just fruits of our fanciful superstitions. Look, the candles within have been damped, and they no longer even glow. Surely now you can see how little you've to fear. See them there? Nothing but so much pie fodder and hog feed. She clutched my hands in hers and cried, "Oh, do away with them, please. Rid us of their jestful smiles." What could I do, boys, but oblige? One by one, I wrested the pumpkins from the shipfront and smashed them upon the worn cobblestones. I snapped the candles over my knee and tossed them upon the heap of broken fruit. We moved from shop to shop, leaving messes of pumpkin gold in our wakes, mangled smiles of the pumpkin jacks gazing woefully from their deathbeds. As we reached the last shop, I extended a jack toward the maiden. The last of them, miss. Would you care for the honors? She recoiled, as if I had offered a fistful of white-hot coals. And I noticed something curious as I looked into her fearful face. Though it may have been the glancing shadows in the moonlight, it seemed the maiden I had seen in the window and encountered in the woods now looked wizened, as if the past hours had aged her some dozen years. Where once I would have placed her at years matching my own, she now looked older, with lines creasing her eyes, a missus of perhaps 30 years, although still a fabulous beauty. Upon smashing the final pumpkin, she held my face in her hands, gazing into my soul with those fierce and beautiful eyes. "Now the scarecrows," she exclaimed giddily. Hand in hand, we flew through the streets, though it seemed her pace a bit slower than before, and scrambled over the piled limestone fences that marked the boundaries of Farmer Jacob's fields. Rows of corn, peas, and wheat brushed past our weights and loomed over our heads as we pushed through the stalks until we came upon the first of the scarecrows, ruined shirt and trouser stuffed bulbous with chaff. Burlap sack heads full of corn cobs rested upon each misshapen body, dull black buttons stitched to the faces, and frightful ripped maws. "How hideous they are!" exclaimed the maiden. "In my dreams they wake and stumble toward us in the dark, gnashing their corn-cob teeth. Please, my darling, destroy them and calm my heart." They towered over us, standing vigilant against crow and crone alike. I seized the sturdy post and heaved my body against it, but how sturdily Farmer Jacob had planted it in the soil. I heaved again, but hardly it budged, as a stone pillar set into poured cement. I turned to my lovely companion. "Miss," said I don't believe even a strong man could manage to overturn this post. Really, you have nothing to fear. See, around the edges of the scarecrow's circle, you can see how apple cores and clay marbles have been strewn. Children come here to hide and play during the daylight hours, and they do not fear. I have not heard a breath of any harm coming to any child." Wordlessly, she pulled from her frock a match. I struck it against my thumbnail and held the flame to the scarecrow's trousers. They took to the light right away and roared up the straw-stuffed body until only the burlap sack head remained, fire leaping about its button eyes as the rest disintegrated into flaming ashes. The post creaked and cracked, then collapsed. Suddenly I cried out, "The field is aflame!" And indeed it was. The stalks of corn danced with fire. Funnels of thick smoke hurried skyward. "What have we done?" I grasped the maiden's hand and gasped. No longer the live porcelain skin of a young maiden. I held the hand of a woman much older, the knuckles strong and bony, curled around my wrist like a talon. I looked into her face and beheld her spotted cheeks and wisps of coarse gray hair. "Miss, what has become of you? What has happened? Is this a dream? Is this a waking dream?" I spun around in the midst of the flaming field, the vital harvest of our entire village, as it wasted into ash. "I must wake up. Please, pinch me. Free me from this nightmare." But the woman held tightly to my arm and pulled me closer. Instead of sweet perfume, I smelled only dust and rotting teeth as she hissed, "It's too late, child. This is a dream from which you shall not awake." And with incredible strength, she pulled me by the wrist through the forest. Somehow she seemed to glide easily over the rough terrain as my ankles snared each gnarled root and fallen log that crossed our paths. Whereas the moonlight had felt like a glowing embrace, now it seemed as though the moon looked down on us with malice, an enormous eye unblinking in the inky sky. At last we reached the outskirts of our settlement, where a ring of holy bonfires had been set to light on the eve of the harvest moon. The bleached bones of butchered swine and cattle were set into pyres, below which satchels of herbs and holy statuettes waited to be set alight, their sacred smoke banishing spirits and scourges and all manner of foul fortunes from the village. My knees buckled, and a chill, eerie wind rushed through me. "No," I whispered. "Please let them stand. They are merely playthings, meant to make festive an evening of peasants' revelry. Please let us return to the village." But from her frock, as if by magic, she pulled a heavy axe with a wooden handle, its blade so sharp it appeared to glow with a blue light. She placed it in my hand and my digits tingled. I felt my hands become the hands of another, like a puppet with invisible strings. I approached the first pyre and swung the axe across as if it were a creature I sought to behead. The bones and totems scattered, and I felt myself moving to the next, as if compelled by some unholy force. Such was the grip of her spell, I scarcely noticed the host of foul creatures that began to descend from the sky, one after another, until all the holy bonfires lay destroyed at my feet. Sweating and shivering, with the cold and the spell and the fear of my own evil doing, I lifted my head and found myself surrounded by a ring of hellish ghouls, half two half-beasts stood with rage in their animal eyes, fur clotted with gore. Enormous snakes with human tongues twisted from the branches of trees, hissing clouds of poison, shaking rattles that echoed with the cries of dying men. Two-headed crocodiles pulled themselves across the ground on their bellies, oozing sores with pustules that boiled and spat. More and more of these hell-spawn appeared from the darkness until they had surrounded me in a circle. I covered my eyes and sank to my knees. What have I done? What have I done? I wept. The hag who had once been a maiden emerged from the circle of horrors. Her once fair skin now hung upon her skull like yellow dough. Her nails twisted into horned corkscrews. She bent upon her cane so that the hump upon her spine revealed itself like a second head. And the few tufts of hair, her mottled skull seemed to writhe in the moonlight like maggots. The devilish hag of my undoing. The hag you see before you now.
Hey, Hag, that's you.
Nice work, Orin. They said opossums are stupid.
Wait, who says that?
If you know, they, then people.
Hag stepped into the circle. Boy, know not what you've done this night, what you have wagered in your game of lust. She turned toward her ring of companions. Ghouls, goblins, monsters, and devils. No longer must we cower behind the invisible fences that have so long prevented us from feasting on the flesh and souls of this miserable creature. Tonight, we glut upon the souls and the hearts of these peasants, whose flimsy totems have been destroyed by this boy, so easily bought with a whisper and a glimpse of a bosom. The circle tightened around me, the drooling jaws, the gashing teeth, the miasma of hell closed in, and I readied my soul for death. In the distance, I could hear the screams of the townspeople as they were pulled from their beds by these terrible apparitions, ripped apart by the army of Lucifer I had unwittingly invited into our circle of protection. I could feel their hot breaths upon me, I could taste their bloodthirsty rage in my mouth. But then the hag said,
Wait! No deed to the creatures of hell goes unrewarded, but neither does it go unpunished. The tricks and the treats of the darkness shall never be withheld, according to the laws of our dark legion. So to you, boy, I offer you a choice. The same choice I offer to these two boys now, who I came upon this Halloween night smashing pumpkins and egging foreign sedans, destroying the rituals that have long kept the spirits of the night from reigning with the havoc of 1,000 years. I offer to these two boys now this candied apple, and you shall not die tonight, but live forever.
Guys, it's not what you're thinking. You'll live forever, but your body still abides by the natural law. The swamp from which I lurch is the only place I find peace from the horrible haunts of the living world. The muds ease my pain, but the creatures of the bog nibble upon my flesh and gorge upon my entrails. My only company is on this night, Halloween night, when I emerge to reunite with the witch that damned me, and pray that one of you will choose the apple of immortality and take my place in this torment, the only thing that will release me from my eternal rotting misery.
Wow, you're really selling it, chum.
If the misery of my situation strikes fear in your hearts, boys, pray listen to the alternative. I chose my way once with the knowledge I impart you now, and would do so again if brought back in time to that moment.
Eat from this. candied apple, and you shall take my place on this mortal coil. You would find it your profession to lure the young and impetuous into the destruction of the very things that keep mankind safe from the army of demons you shall helm. Men shall perish in agony at your word. Women shall be torn from their children. The suffering of the ages shall be forever upon your heads. The ugliness of the magic you wield shall be equaled only by the ugliness of the form you will take. Body, face, and heart so grotesque. You shall never know the loving touch or kind word of another soul. In that you find yourself acquiring sass-mouthed, beady-eyed familiars for the small comfort that is beating heart and the human voice within your world of loneliness and isolation.
Oh, really? You think I'm beady-eyed? Shucks, that's real sweet of you.
So, boys, what will it be? The fruit of eternity or the fruit of power? Oh, sorry. Here you go.
What happens if we don't eat either of them?
That's not really an option.
But yeah, what if we don't?
Oh, I don't know. I'll probably conjure up some sort of eel creature to devour your gullet from the inside. Or maybe some sort of pox that rupture spiders. You know, something boring like that.
I've seen people try to use that loophole, boys. And trust me, you don't want to try it.
So, boys, tell me, which will it be? Which trick, which treat, which gift, and which curse? I hold them now before you. What shall you choose?
Ooh, Power Rangers going for it.
I told you an Iron Man.
Good choice.
Good choice, boys.
Good choice.
Very good choice.
So, did you like it when the dude came back? I know, it's always like, I thought you left, dude. You forgot something? Like, why are you here? Yeah, that's what I say. If you're gonna come back, please try not to drip and gore all over my house, man. I run a tight ship. Try to keep it nice. Pick up after yourself, even if it is yourself. Get it? See you next week, I guess. Gotta go. Blake Anderson as Hat. Danielle Hewitt as Orange. Nate Dufort as the Abomination. Larissa Park as Boy 1. And B. Nar as Boy 2. And Skinner as Robin. Dialogue editor and sound design, Brad Colbrook. Music, Ryan Howes. Showrunner and director, Shelby Scott. Creative director, Skinner. Producer, Pacific S. Obadiah. Executive producers, Tom Owen and Brad Miska. This is a Bloody FM show. For more information, visit bloody.fm.
What's this all about?
What about nightmares? We love it. They can't tear out your soul and your spirit. They're right.
Ominous Thrill, a full cast anthology of horror, thrillers, and suspense.
He has delivered you up to me.
I didn't do anything.
No!
Character-driven tales from the dark side.
I'm no fighter.
I'm hungry for your vengeance.
I could feel them under my skin, and I had to cut them out. We can't help her. We're leaving. What? Risa, what? A man's severed head.
I need the light. You want me to fall down the stairs?
No. I want to push you. I love you so much.
Ominous Thrill. Available now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and everywhere. Thrill you later.
Ah, we meet again, friend. Thanks for always making the time to stop by for a visit. You know, I put something aside for you because I knew you'd be coming in today. Let's see. Yes, there you are. It may not look like much. On the surface, it seems like a regular old tablespoon. But oh, the unimaginable darkness it has seen. I call this one Pieces. Welcome to the antiquarium of sinister happenings and odd goings on. I call this one Pieces. Welcome to the antiquarium of sinister happenings.
The first time, he only took a tooth. I was 6 years old, and our dog Harley, the Labrador Collie Cross, was dying. He lay on our couch, head in my mother's lap, whining in his sleep. We had taken him to the vet that morning. I remember sitting in the waiting room, holding my rolled-up comic and trying to hear the muffled voices of my mother and the vet through the door. She told me years later that they offered to put Harley down, but she couldn't go through with it. She'd been with us all my life. I had no siblings and never knew my father. The three of us were all the family I'd ever known. I prayed for Harley that night. You know, the way a child does. Did you ever do that? Not to anyone or anything specific. Certainly not to God. We weren't religious at all. I just prayed. Generally. To anyone or anything that would listen. Whispered words under covers. I thought it was something people did when they needed help, you know. Didn't really understand. I often wonder if this is how it all began. Offering up such innocent need to whatever was listening. When I fell asleep, I had a dream, unlike any other I had ever experienced. The dream world, white on white, as far as I could see in every direction. An odd shimmer in the air, distortions which seemed to be forming shapes, but never quite succeeding. Hello. I spun around with the voice. There was a man there, tall and thickly set. Other features are not so easy to recall. To focus on felt like watching an image on water. He seemed ill at ease in his clothing. I remember that. And uncomfortably warm. There was always sweat on his brow or being wiped from his palms. I was surprised more than afraid. At that point, he was not threatening in any way. Indeed, he went out of his way to appear otherwise. I see that now.
Your name is Adam, isn't it?
Yes.
I replied. I heard my own voice and became aware quite clearly that I was dreaming. There was the clarity you have when you know something is truth.
You're right.
He said, bending at the waist to bring his eyes level with mine.
This is just a dream, but I am very real, and I would like to help you, Adam.
He never came too close. Just smiled, wiping at his mouth, gaze fixed on me.
Your dog is dying, isn't he? Your friend. Very sad, of course, but
he met my eyes and grinned.
I can help.
Really?
Oh, yes. But I need a little something from you, Adam. Just a small thing. Nothing vital.
What is it?
He smiled. Your tooth. How did he know? I thought. I felt the loose one in my mouth. It had been that way for a week now. I'd been pushing it around with my tongue all day. Just a small thing.
But it isn't out yet.
Oh, I know. You will need to help it along. Just a little. You want me to help Harley, don't you? I did. Of course. Do you want your friend to live or die, Adam? I can help, but only if you do your part. Now, before you wake, if you want to save him, you must be quick. You have to do it and hand it to me. He never took his eyes off mine. I thought, I could be brave, couldn't I? I could do it to save my dog, couldn't I? I pushed with my tongue until it hurt. It wouldn't be enough. Tick, tick, Adam. We are running out of time. I reached into my mouth and I got a hold of the tooth between two fingers. Do it quickly. I pulled. The taste of blood was in my mouth. My eyes watered and I heard myself cry. Then something snapped and the blood rushed out, spilling suddenly onto the floor. Here. The man snapped his fingers at me and held out his hand. Spittle was running down his chin. He reached out and clumsily, hungrily snatched the bloody tooth, eyes fixed, brow glistening with sweat. Then he popped it in his mouth and ate it like a candy. I woke to the sound of its slippery crunch from between his wet lips. Heart racing, I lay there in my bed, morning light stinging my eyes. I felt for my tooth. It was gone. Just a smooth hole where it had been. I told my mother about the missing tooth, and she said not to worry. I must have swallowed it in my sleep. These things happen. It was quickly forgotten with our happiness over our Harley's recovery. He was there at my bedroom door when I got up, wagging his tail and ready for walks. Everything was good again. I never told anyone about my dream. Stupid. He still died a month later. Gone in his sleep, cold by the morning. I found him as I was the first one downstairs, calling his name. I remember standing there for a long time, silent, frozen in the moment, watching his limp body and feeling that gap in my mouth. Now, all these years later, I'm watching in silence again. I can't let her see me. I wouldn't want to scare her. Do you understand how you can love someone enough to leave? Every year that passes, I retreat further into the dark, away from prying eyes. Out in the world, she lives her life, perfect and beautiful. Every movement and word and moment. The pain swells and blooms inside, and I think I cannot miss her any more than I do. I could not survive it. Then another day comes, and somehow I do.
I do apologize, but a delivery just arrived here at the shop, and I need to sign for it. Sit tight, and I'll be back quicker than a rat up a drain pipe.
Last year, Art the Clown blew up the box office with a Christmas sleigh ride for the ages. And now on Valentine's Day, Art is slashing his way into your home. That's right. On February 14th, Terrifier 3 makes its official streaming debut exclusively on Screambox. Listeners can get 3 months of Screambox for just $2.99 per month by going to terrifier3.com/bloodyfm. That's terrifier3.com/bloodyfm, so you can relive all of Art's bloody antics only on Screambox.
Now, that wasn't so bad, was it? Let's glide back into this nightmare, shall we?
My mother was in a car accident when I was 18.
Icy roads, a tired truck driver, blood, and broken glass. A phone call. She was in a coma when I reached the hospital, covered in bandages, eyes closed. Didn't have long, they told me. I was consumed by regret more than anything. We had been growing apart for years. All the things I hadn't said and had taken for granted were haunting me. All the things I had assumed would be there in the future until time. Ate them up. She gave me unconditional love from the moment I was born. And all I had to do was be there for her. Yet still I failed. I would have given anything to speak to her once more, if only for a few hours, to tell her everything I could and to listen. I cried like a baby by her bed, memories cutting me every time I closed my eyes. After 36 hours, I fell asleep in the waiting room, holding a lukewarm cup of tea.
Hello again, Adam. You remember me,
The white on white world. The man in the ill-fitting suit. Yes, I remember you. You said you would save my dog.
And I did I not? You cannot buy immortality. Don't be a fool.
He wiped at his lips. Heat seemed to radiate from him.
Only a little at a time, Adam. That's how it works. A tooth doesn't get you much. A few weeks for a dog, that's fair. Don't you think that's fair?
I don't know.
Oh, you do.
He smiled and wiped his hands on his chest.
And here you are again. A beautiful mother, yes. So close already, so close.
Images of her flooded into my mind, and I was ashamed of forgetting her, even for a second.
She doesn't have long, Adam.
He wanted me to say it. I realized. Can you help her?
Oh, yes, of course I can help. What do you want? Tell me.
An hour. A few hours with her. My voice cracked as I answered.
What? Speak up.
I want to talk to my mom. His eyes burned into me for a moment before he looked over my shoulder. I followed his gaze. A table had appeared behind me. There was a knife on it.
A finger. For an hour with her.
He was licking at his lips, dabbing at the corners of his mouth. I couldn't take my eyes off the knife.
Just as before, Adam. Do it quickly, then give it to me.
I didn't have a choice. The knife was heavier than it looked. The pain just as expected. I almost stopped more than once when it became too much, or I couldn't cut through. But I kept going. I didn't have any choice. I had slumped to the floor, shaking and soaking in sweat, when he took my severed finger. Then he ate it in front of me. I was woken by the sound of someone calling my name. Cold tea had spilled into my lap, and a nurse put her hand on my shoulder. I had to go with her, she said. My mother was awake. I tried to reply to get to my feet, but I was frozen in place, staring at the stump where my finger had been, staring at the skin, smooth and perfect, as if it had always been that way. I watched her go through her day, from crossroads to windows. I will phone her tonight, but I can't speak, of course. It will be worth it to hear her voice. It will all be worth it. Do you understand? I didn't have a choice. When my daughter was 1 year old, she had a seizure. Ambulances and hospitals followed. Tears and sleepless nights for myself and my wife. There was no fear like it. After a week of tests, the doctors invited us in to speak with them. Their words were quiet and kind and stunk of finality. Our daughter would not get better. She had another year at most. They could make her comfortable. There is no emptier place in the world than the future without your child. You would do anything to change it, anything. I held my wife and stared again at my missing finger, remembering how I had hid it from people, made up lies about an accident, but most of all, I remembered his words.
Of course I can help. What do you want? Tell me.
That night, I watched my daughter sleeping in her cot, perfect and beautiful. And I knew what I had to do. Eventually, I slept. He was waiting for me in the light. He didn't show himself at first. He remained behind me, hot breath on my neck. I heard splashes on the ground, saliva running from his mouth. He cast a larger shadow now than the man I had seen before. How much time could I bother? I asked. There was a table in front of us set with shiny cutlery. Many bone-handled knives.
Oh, many years.
His voice was thicker, heavier.
It depends how much you are willing to give. How long we can make you last.
His hand. No, it was no longer a hand. His claw was on my shoulder.
But we shall find out. Yes, we shall.
In time, I would see him as he truly was. By then, of course, it was much too late. He walked past me and picked up a spoon, gave it a tap on the table.
Let's start with an eye.
That was 15 years ago. I had to leave my wife, my family, hide myself away. I couldn't conceal what was happening to me. I couldn't explain. I could only go on. But now, my time is running out. So hers is too. My daughter. I have so little left to give. One eye, one arm, both legs, of course. I've been in a wheelchair for a decade. Teeth, gums, tongue, my voice with them. All gone. All gone. Away. I sometimes wonder, how am I still alive? If you could call this life. Waking up hollower than I was after a night of cutting and blood and horror. You don't really need both kidneys. Did you know that? So many organs and bones are not essential. I'm afraid to sleep now. There won't be many more times. I think of the voice of the thing in my dreams, the bloody mouth and grasping claws, as I lie on that white floor in a pool of red, deadened by the pain, listening to the clink of cutlery and smack of lips. I will tell myself I cannot face this again. Then I will think of my daughter, of buying her just a little more time, and I will sleep.
Thank you for your patronage. Hope you enjoyed your new relic as much as I've enjoyed passing along its sordid history. It does come with our usual warning, however. Absolutely no refunds, no exchanges, and we won't be held liable for anything that may or may not occur while the object is in your possession. If you've got an artifact with mysterious properties, perhaps it's accompanied by a history of bizarre and disturbing circumstances, maybe you'd be interested in dropping it and its story by the shop to share with other customers. Please reach out to antiquariumshop@gmail.com. A member of our team will be in touch. Till next time, we'll be waiting for you whenever you close your eyes in the space between sleep and dream. During regular business hours, of course, or by appointment, only for you, our best customer. You have a good night now.
The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings, Lot 020, Pieces, written by D. McKay, 1981, starring Nils Frykdahl as the Demon, Jade Shand as Young Adam, featuring Stephen Knowles as the Antique Dealer. Additional sound effects by AV Productions. Engineering, production, and sound design by Trevor Shand. Theme music by the Newell Brothers. Additional music by Coag, Kevin MacLeod, and Audionautics. The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings is created and curated by Trevor Moore Shand. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at AntiquariumPod. Call the Antiquarium at 646-481-7197. The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings is created and curated by Trevor Moore. What's this all about?
What about nightmares? They can tear out your soul.
Ominous Thrill, a full cast anthology of horror, thrillers, and suspense.
He has delivered you up to me.
I can't do anything. Character-driven tales from the dark side.
I'm hungry for your vengeance. I could feel them under my skin, and I had to cut them out. We can't help her. We're leaving. What? Risa, what?
A man's severed head.
I need the light. You want me to fall down the stairs?
No. I want to push you. I love you so much.
Ominous Thrill. Available now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and everywhere. Thrill you later.
Hello and come in. Hope you've been enjoying the Town Pumpkin Festival. They close the streets down every year for it. Brings in a lot of walk-in traffic and new faces like yourself. But you aren't new, are you? No, I definitely have seen you in here before. Always on the hunt for the next slice of hell. Hey, I completely understand. Go to heaven for the climate, hell for the company. One of two choices, up or down. Speaking of, check this out. This is a button that came right out of an elevator of that old Art Deco building on 4th Street. You know, the one that's been condemned for the past 20 years. Word is, no one will demolish it, because they are terrified to death of what'll happen if they do. Let's enter in the lobby of. As I got on the elevator, the man getting off whispered something strange to me. Welcome to the Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings and odd goings on. As I got on the elevator, the man getting off whispered something strange to me. Welcome to the Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings.
As I got on the elevator, the man getting off whispered something strange to me. Don't get off until you hit the 9th floor. No exceptions. But my interview is on 5. I'll only say this one more time. Don't get off until you hit the 9th. No other floor is safe. It's crazy, but something about the way he said it penetrated my skull. He was serious. And he looked nervous, like he had to fight every instinct in his body to say that to me. The doors closed while I thought to myself, who the fuck says anything like that? It's crazy. As I went to hit the button for the 5th floor, some anxiety came over me. I shook it off and pressed it. The guy was probably just off his rockers. The elevator went up. I scanned my surroundings. A TV bolted to the top corner of the elevator, playing the Weather Channel. A mirror for the back wall of the elevator, and some cozy lounge-style music playing. Pretty standard stuff. Weird. I'm not sure I'd ever been in an elevator that announced each floor was a riding room. I was sure that if I worked in this building, this would get pretty old quickly. The doors opened on 5. In front of me was a reception area with a woman seated at the front desk. She stood up from her seat.
Oh, Mr. Davis, you're early.
The gentleman's warning from earlier played in my head.
We'll be ready for your interview in a few moments. In the meantime, please feel free to take a seat.
Thank you. If I'm early, maybe I can come back in a few minutes.
Oh, nonsense. We'll see if we can speed things up. He's been very excited to meet you.
The elevator doors started closing. I held them open. I wasn't sure what to do here, but everything seemed fine enough. Granted, the receptionist did seem a bit eager. But beyond that, from my vantage point, I scanned the office space behind the front desk area. All looks normal. Cubicles, folks clicking away at their computer, the kitchen area, pretty unremarkable. That is, except for the portrait off at the far end of the office floor. It was very large. I couldn't tell what the picture was of, but I did see a group of employees staring at it, almost admiring it.
Your wife's name is Meredith, right?
I froze as the receptionist's question shot a dart right through me. I didn't remember the job application form ever asking for my wife's name.
You two are thinking of having children, right? If it's a boy, you want to name him Sam.
What the fuck? Forget that she was right on the money. This was something I'd never spoken about before to anyone, including my wife. Before I could answer, the office workers surrounding the large portrait started singing the Happy Birthday song loudly, in complete and perfect unison. Someone brought out a birthday cake and presented it to the portrait. A portrait that, after a bit of squinting, I realized was a very large version of my high school yearbook photo. I backed into the elevator and pressed the closed door button. I panicked as it took its sweet time to register. Press, come the fuck on. After what felt like an eternity, the doors started closing. As they closed, I heard the receptionist.
I'm so curious to know what your insides taste like.
Fuck me. 9th floor. I needed to go to the 9th floor. I found the 9th floor button and pressed it. It felt like it didn't register my push, so I pressed the button again and again. Come on, 9th fucking floor. I tried again and again, but nothing was happening. Fuck it, I'll go back to the ground floor, I thought to myself, back to the start. As I went to press the G button, I realized it was missing. Just that one singular button gone. Fuck. I was getting claustrophobic. I took in deep breaths to prevent myself from having a full-blown episode. The elevator started moving up again. A panel above the elevator doors lit up with the following number: 11. Someone was calling the elevator? I started talking to myself to self-soothe. It's okay. Someone will call the 9th floor soon. That's where I'll get off. As the elevator approached its new destination, I noticed that the background lounge music in the elevator had changed. It was now an instrumental arrangement of Happy Birthday. Huh. Not sure why this thing thought it was my birthday. I glanced at the weather report on the TV. At least it was going to be sunny all week. Silver linings. The doors opened. I hung around the inside corner of the elevator beside the buttons. No need to have another nightmarish experience, right? An old woman stepped onto the elevator. Great, I'm sure this will be easy to explain to her. She smiled at me as the doors closed. With a lump in my throat, I asked, "What floor?"
Ground floor, please.
I'm sorry, ma'am, but that button is missing. Maybe we could wait until someone calls us to the 9th floor.
9th? No.
I think I'll just go to the second floor instead then.
She went to press the button. Ma'am, I don't think it'd be safe to...
I have plenty of friends on the second floor. It'll be okay.
And she pressed it. I didn't feel comfortable cornering an elderly stranger in a seemingly haunted elevator, but I tried again to convince her. I know this sounds weird, but I have it under good authority that the second floor probably isn't safe. I'd strongly recommend not heading off until we reach 9. She smiled.
Dear, it'll be all right. You know, I like to take all opportunities that are given to me. It's a shame that you turned your opportunity down. I know the folks on 5 are very disappointed.
I backed up into the corner of the elevator. I saw the reflection of the old lady in the elevator's back mirror. She looked ghastly, otherworldly.
Now arriving at the second floor.
The doors opened. She smiled at me again, and then exited. I poked my head around the corner to look at the second floor. It was damp. It looked old, more like a cave than an office. I heard a low rumble. A man dressed in a fancy suit approached the elevator doors and held them open before they could close.
Hey, what's going on? You getting off here too, champ? I heard that 5 wanted you. I think we can give you a better offer.
I'm good.
You sure, bud? The salary is $800,000 every hour.
I'm good.
I'm kidding, but the salary is.
The floor went pitch black. The low rumble got much louder and it started reverberating in my ears. Suddenly, the businessman grabbed me by the collar and tried to pull me out of the elevator. I clung to the end of it. Fuck. I started kicking and headbutting him. I was able to make him let go of me momentarily as I desperately pressed on the closed doors button. Miraculously, the elevator responded much quicker this time, and they closed immediately. I tried the 9th floor button again. Didn't work. I pressed 8 instead, anything to get away from this hellhole of a floor. I heard a loud banging on the door as the elevator started taking off, like an aggressive knock. As I saw the floor numbers rising, 3, 4, 5, the banging continued, just as loud. What the fuck? 6th floor, 7th floor. The banging on the door didn't subside.
Now arriving at the 8th floor.
I pressed the button for the 23rd floor. Just as we arrived on 8, I mashed the closed doors button just as the elevator doors were about to open. The banging continued as the elevator doors started denting. The elevator continued going up. 9, 10, 11. The banging softened. 14, 15, and softened. 19, 20, 21, and disappeared.
Now arriving at the 23rd floor.
I do apologize, but a delivery just arrived here at the shop, and I need to sign for it. Sit tight, and I'll be back quicker than a rat up a drain pipe. I do apologize, but a delivery. Now that wasn't so bad, was it? Let's glide back into this nightmare, shall we?
Now arriving at the 23rd floor.
It was gone. Thank fucking God. I exhaled. I felt like I'd narrowly avoided disaster. The doors opened. I scanned the new floor and I realized I was back on the ground floor. That's what it looked like anyways. Did I escape? Was I finally free? A man stood not too far from the door. He looked familiar, but I couldn't exactly place him.
Hey, man.
Was this the guy who got off the elevator just as I got on? Hey, it's over, man. You got out. I felt a wave of relief wash over me, but I had to fight it. But you said the 9th floor was the only safe one, right?
That was a trick. You followed your gut and you were right. 23rd floor. The real safe floor. You can step out now, man.
I didn't leave.
There's someone here who really wants to see you.
I couldn't move.
He wants to give you a job. He thinks you're going to be great. Why the fuck couldn't I move? He's in the other room. I'm going to fetch him, okay? All you have to do is look at him. It'll feel a bit weird at first, but then it'll all be okay. It's a permanent position. Great benefits. It is fully on site, but no better birthday present than a new job, right? I lowered my gaze to the floor. I forced myself to mutter the following words. It's not my fucking birthday. As he left to fetch whoever he was needing to fetch, he gave me the following response. Hey, relax, man. No cursing on your job. We're a family here. I felt like I could only move a centimeter at a time, a true snail's pace. I inched my finger closer and closer to the closed door button. I heard footsteps. She was coming back. With every fiber of my being, I pushed through. I hit the button. The doors closed, and I collapsed to the floor, free from whatever weird force was stopping me from moving. I'll let you two talk more on the elevator. I heard him say from outside the doors. What? Instinctively, I looked around. To my surprise, there was nothing. The elevator was the same as it had always been. A lengthy exhale. I was done with all of this. At this point, I would have taken death over continuing this bullshit any longer. As I pondered my next move in this hopeless situation, I noticed something strange. The button to the 9th floor was lit up. An ominous crimson red color. Before I could do anything else, my phone started ringing. I checked the call. It was my wife. I answered. Babe, fuck. I don't know why I didn't even think to call you. I'm trapped in an elevator and fucked up shit is happening and maybe I should call the cops. Fuck.
Don't go to the 9th floor.
What? Wait, how do you even...
It's a trick, honey. You have to trust me. The man from before was lying to you. It's not safe.
None of this has been safe. How do you even know everything that's happening?
You just need to trust me, hon.
I paused. So what do you want me to do then? A demon on the other side of the phone answered this time. I hung up the call and in a panic I mashed on the 9th floor button. The elevator started rising again. Even with me hanging up the call, the muffled sound of the demonic voice coming from my phone continued. I pulled out my phone and flung it to the ground as hard as I could. I stomped on it angrily. The warped sound of "go to your interview" slowly started dying out. But suddenly, the elevator started shaking. It was continuing to go up, and it was faster than usual. Really, really fucking fast all of a sudden. Almost like the 9th floor was now way below me. It felt like an amusement park ride with no brakes on it. Loose, dangerous, flinging up at an insane speed, almost as if it were falling upwards. But I pressed 9! I screamed to myself, exasperated. It didn't matter.
Now arriving at the 41st floor.
God, what the fuck? I was brought to my knees by the speed of the elevator, traveling faster and faster.
Now arriving at the 90th floor.
The buttons didn't even go past 52.
Now arriving at the 141st floor. Now arriving at the 230th floor. Now arriving at the 401st floor.
I felt like I was inside a bullet. The pleasant voice of the elevator lady was getting deeper and deeper as we rose.
Now arriving at the 840th floor.
The voice started croaking, a demonic sound this time. A sudden halt. The elevator stopped. The doors didn't open though. The panel above the elevator doors had no indication of what floor we were on. As I sat, I heard what could best be described as the sounds of hell coming from outside the elevator. Low grunts of pain, crackling, a dark hymn. Was this where I was supposed to get off? Before I could ponder the question further, I heard a soft tapping on the elevator. A voice from outside.
Do you want to trade?
I decided to bite for reasons I still don't fully understand. What do you mean?
What if you stay on this floor forever and I get to go home?
think I'm good.
But I really want to go home.
It almost sounded like the voice of a kid. I'm sorry, kid.
It's okay.
An awkward silence between us.
He told me he wants to wish you a happy birthday.
I think he's got it wrong. Today isn't my birthday.
It is. It's the first day of your new life. Your birthday. He wants you to look at the TV.
What? I looked at the TV in the top corner of the elevator, hoping to see the one constant I'd had during this whole cursed trip, the weather. Instead, the TV was now showcasing what looked to be CCTV footage, grainy footage from a camera of the exact elevator I was in, a live feed of this exact moment. Except the TV showed me lying down, looking up with a wide smile on my face, and something above me on the ceiling, looking straight down at me. The lights in the elevator went off. The elevator plummeted downwards as I closed my eyes and screamed for dear fucking life. I waited for the impact, for what I knew was my demise. Here it comes. Here it fucking comes. I'm not ready. I'm not ready at all. The doors opened. Wait, what? 9th floor? I peeked out from the elevator. Another reception desk. Wait, is this really the... I was interrupted by a voice from the outside.
You coming out or what, you fucking moron?
I got to my feet. The feeling of distrust, anxiety, whatever you call it, my fear intuition, it was gone. I felt light. Fuck it. I stepped onto the floor and approached the counter. The receptionist handed me what looked like a button for the elevator.
For the ground floor, single use only.
I took it and headed toward the elevator. Then I turned back to face her. Can I maybe take the stairs? She shook her head.
You didn't like the elevator, then you're really not going to like the stairs.
Fair enough. I got into the elevator. I said a silent prayer to myself as I put the button where it belonged. It fit without any issue. I pressed it, and the elevator went down. It was a smooth ride. As I got ready to exit, I realized that the ground floor button was missing once again. Strange. I didn't know you were on it. I marched out, ready to get the fuck out of this building. I noticed a woman running onto the elevator. I tried to stop her, but something in my body wouldn't let me. The most I could muster was putting my hand on the door to relay a message to her before the doors closed. Don't get off until you reach the 9th floor, no matter what. The woman just smiled at me.
Happy birthday, Michael.
Thank you for your patronage. Hope you enjoyed your new relic as much as I've enjoyed passing along its sordid history. It does come with our usual warning, however. Absolutely no refunds, no exchanges, and we won't be held liable for anything that may or may not occur while the object is in your possession. If you've got an artifact with mysterious properties, perhaps it's accompanied by a history of bizarre and disturbing circumstances, maybe you'd be interested in dropping it and its story by the shop to share with other customers. Please reach out to antiquariumshop@gmail.com. A member of our team will be in touch. Till next time, we'll be waiting for you whenever you close your eyes in the space between sleep and dream. During regular business hours, of course, or by appointment, only for you, our best customer. You have a good night now.
The The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings, Lot 021. As I got on the elevator, the man getting off whispered something strange to me. Written by Mo T. Starring Mike Flanagan as Mike, Kate Siegel as the wife, David Dasmalchian as the man, Leah Kilpatrick as the elevator and receptionist, Allison Cossack as the receptionist, Janet Peters as the old woman, Jade Shand as the child, Scarlett Shand and Trevor Shand as the employees, Trevor Shand as the man in the fancy suit, Lauren Shand as the birthday girl, featuring Stephen Knowles as the antique dealer. Additional sound effects by AV Productions. Engineering, production, and sound design by Trevor Shand. Theme music by the Newton Brothers. Additional music by Coag, Kevin MacLeod, and Audionautics. The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings is created and curated by Trevor and Lauren Shand. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at AntiquariumPod. Call the Antiquarium at 646-481-7197.
What about nightmares? They can't tear out your soul anymore.
Ominous Thrill, a full-cast anthology of horror, thrillers, and suspense. And he has delivered you up to me.
I didn't do anything.
No! Character-driven tales from the dark side.
I'm no psycho.
I'm hungry for your vengeance.
I can feel them under my skin, and I had to cut them out. We can't help her. What, Risa? What?
A man's severed head.
I need the light. You want me to fall down the stairs?
No. I want to push you. I love you so much.
Ominous Thrill. Available now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and everywhere.
Yes.
Thrill you later.
Hello again, dear friend. As for the visit, the honor is all mine indeed. Follow me. I've got something to show you. I see you as my most discerning customer. You've a real zest for darkness. Seemingly insatiable, really, if I'm being honest. It is that overpowering urge you have to stare into the void that just keeps bringing us together. I wasn't even going to introduce this one into the shop for fear of what might be attached to it. But I digress. Your eyes aren't deceiving you. This is very much what it appears to be. A single sheet of manila paper. A simple handout. A flyer. However, it's what's written on it that I dare not even read. Not in my head, nor graced across my lips. But you'll be quite familiar with this song by the end of this one, called The Soul Game. Welcome to the Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings and Odd Goings On. You'll be quite familiar with this song by the end of this one, called The Soul Game. Welcome to the Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings and Odd Goings On.
First, I know that you were hearing this, and maybe even while lying in bed trying to drift off to sleep, and I don't mean to disturb you, but I need to apologize to you. I am so sorry. I'm coming to you in my time of need. Please Please help me. Please just listen to this to the end, okay? That's it. That's all I ask. I don't know what to do or where to turn, so please just help me. That's all I ask. Please help me. My name is Andrea, and I'm a single mother. I don't tell you this like it's some badge of honor, and I'm expecting cookies, milk, and chocolate-covered snowflakes like most of the others in my social circle would. They just want your pats on the back and recognition, but I only want some of your time. I see motherhood as a burden. Necessary, yes, but it's still a burden. My son's name is Jesse. He's 11. That's 5th grade for the math haters. Jesse started the 5th grade this year like any other kid would. There was a little bit of trepidation and lots of excitement. He was a happy-go-lucky sort of kid, full of life and energy. All that changed after he met Stan on Tuesday. Stan was a late addition to Jesse's class, a transfer student from another district. Jesse's teacher sat Stan next to Jesse. When I picked Jesse up after school on Tuesday, he told me that Stan was his new best friend. He wasn't acting like himself, though. He was pale and sweaty. I mean, I took his temperature, but he wasn't running a fever or anything. So I asked about his day, and all he would tell me was that Stan was his new best friend.
Stan's my new best friend,
Jesse would say. No, I can't wait to meet him, I'd say back.
Mom, Stan is great. You should meet him. He's my new best friend, the best in the world.
You must have had this same conversation like 1,000 times that night. When I tucked Jesse into bed, he looked up at me with tears in his eyes. He put his little hand in front of his face and wiggled his index finger, telling me to come closer. So I bent over him, and he put his hands to either side of his mouth, like a little kid way of telling a secret. I turned my head, and he whispered something into my ear that chilled me. At the time, I don't know why it chilled me, but it did. You believe me, right, Mom? I sat back up and looked down at him. Believe you about what, honey?
Stan's my best friend.
I nodded and took his temperature once more. But again, he wasn't running a fever. I went to bed, but I couldn't really sleep that night. On Wednesday, when I pulled up to the school to drop Jesse off, he got this really weird look on his face and told me that he didn't want to go in. Are you feeling sick? No. He was chewing on his bottom lip like crazy. That was something else I'd never seen him do.
No, I need to go to school.
He opened the car door and got out. No goodbye, no love you, Mom. Nothing. He trudged up the front steps of the school with his head down. I let off the brake and turned away to drive to work, but a little boy was standing right in front of my car. 2 more seconds and I would have run him over. The boy was pale with a mop of blonde hair that was almost white and these bright blue eyes. He knocked on the hood of my car twice, waved once, and then walked up the stairs to school. When I picked Jesse up after school on Wednesday, he looked a lot better. He was a tiny bit paler than normal, but he seemed happy. He told me all about his day. He told me about dinosaurs and music and math, and then he told me about recess.
And then after math period, we had recess. Mom, you'll never guess what I did today at recess.
Tell me, I said, smiling to myself as I was driving. And I was thinking he'd say tag, football, or what's the other one? Keep away. All the things I remember the boys doing at recess when I was that age. Something benign, something, something normal.
I joined a church.
I frowned at this. A church? At recess? Jesse nodded.
The Church of Stan.
I thought that it must be some sort of new make-believe game that the kids were playing. So, what's the Church of Stan? I asked.
It's Stan's church, Mom.
Jesse laughed like I was the silliest person in the world for asking that question. What do you guys do, though, as members?
Lots of stuff. Today, though, we just listened to Stan talk. He was saying some funny words, and I got sleepy and dozed off. A bunch of us did.
I pulled into the driveway at home, and we got out. Was that it? I asked. Things sounded weird, for sure, but the kids didn't seem to be doing anything wrong.
Stan gave us flyers, too.
Jesse pulled out a crinkled up piece of paper and handed it to me. It was a piece of manila paper with 3 words written in black marker. Church of Stan. Again, weird, but nothing wrong. I just thought the boys were playing make-believe. I was wrong. When I picked Jesse up after school yesterday, I could tell that something was very wrong with my little boy. He looked panicked and scared. What's going on, honey? I asked, reaching up to feel his forehead. No fever.
We played the soul game today.
Jesse's head was on a swivel. He couldn't sit still. He kept looking all around as we headed home. The soul game? I asked. Jesse just nodded and kept trying to look everywhere at once. Beads of sweat dotted his upper lip. What's the soul game? Jesse shook his head no and said nothing. Jesse, what's the soul game?
I told him I didn't want to. But he said he wouldn't be my friend anymore if I didn't play.
Who wouldn't be your friend? We were the teachers. Jesse started breathing harder, but still answered.
It happened in the church. Teachers aren't allowed.
The Church of Stan? Jesse nodded, and a tear slipped down his cheek. What's the soul game, Jesse? I am your mother. You tell me right now and I'll take care of everything.
I can't tell you, Mom. I can't. The rules are bad. They're so bad.
What about Stan? Will Stan tell me the rules?
No!
Jesse screamed this and scared me half to death.
Don't ask him the rules. Please don't, Mom, please.
I pulled into the driveway, scared and confused.
Promise me, Mom. Promise me, please.
Jesse was bawling now, terrified. I took him into my arms and rocked him. I hadn't rocked him like that since he'd been in kindergarten. He fell asleep in my arms and I carried him inside. I took him straight to his room and got him ready for bed. He just needs sleep, I kept telling myself. All he needs is sleep. So I put him to bed and I ate dinner alone. I checked up on him around 9 when I went to bed. He seemed to be sleeping so well, so I decided to go to sleep. I woke up to him screaming at the top of his lungs 18 minutes after midnight last night. I ran to his room, but he wasn't in his bed. I turned on the lights, and Jesse came flying out of the closet like something was chasing him. He latched onto my leg and kept screaming. I tried to calm him down and ask what was wrong at the same time. He wasn't making any sense. He kept screaming about the soul game. He was impossible. I kept asking what that was, but he wouldn't tell me. So I tried to put him back to bed, but he would have none of it. So finally, I just took him to my room, and he slept in my bed. And he fell right to sleep. I was lying on my side watching him, stroking his hair, when his eyes popped open and he stared right into mine.
I'll tell you the rules after school tomorrow, lady.
Then he closed his eyes. What was going on with my kid?
Please excuse me for a moment. Looks like a family just walked in to do some holiday shopping. 'Tis the season, as they say.
Son, now be careful with that. It's extraordinarily dangerous.
Now we're in trouble. Let me go take care of some things, and I'll be right back. Like a family just walked in to do some holiday shopping. 'Tis the season, as they say.
Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should yo.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from
We can be twinsies.
to
Now we're shopping. Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom.
freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank N.A. member FDIC.
Last year, Art the Clown blew up the box office with a Christmas sleigh ride for the ages. And now on Valentine's Day, Art is slashing his way into your home. That's right. On February 14th, Terrifier 3 makes its official streaming debut exclusively on Screambox. Listeners can get 3 months of Screambox for just $2.99 per month by going to Terrifier3.com/BloodyFM. That's Terrifier3.com/BloodyFM, so you can relive all of Art's bloody antics only on Screambox.
Sorry about the small interruption. Do me a favor. Should you think you see something moving just outside of your peripheral for the remainder of your visit, it's really very important you pay it no mind. That said, let's go back and see what young Jesse and his mother got tangled up in. Shall we?
What was going on with my kid? In the darkness, I stared at the ceiling for a long time before rolling over to my side and staring into the bathroom. And then, did you know how when you're at the edge of sleep, sometimes your leg will kick and jerk you awake? Or you'll imagine that you're falling or that you just tripped over something and you'll just jerk awake again. That happened to me all of last night, only I kept being ripped from sleep by seeing something in the doorway to the bathroom. Every time my eyes would start to slip shut, I'd see the dark outline of something large in the doorway, and I'd jerk awake. Of course, nothing would be there. And I would start falling asleep again. The outline would appear in the doorway again. But it would be closer to me, like it had taken a baby step. Over and over, this happened until morning. This morning on the way to school, Jesse just seemed out of it, lethargic. Of course, I felt the same way too. I was even more exhausted. I thought of asking Jesse about what he'd said right before he fell asleep, but I couldn't. I was afraid it would send him into hysterics again, so I just left it alone. I drove him to school, and he didn't say a word the whole time. He was acting like a robot, listless, unemotional. I got a call shortly after dropping him off to come pick him back up. He vomited in class. When I picked him up, he was the same. I asked him several questions, but he only gave me grunts in response. The plan at home was to get him changed out of his dirty clothes and then take him to the doctor. He didn't say anything until we pulled into the driveway. Can Stan come over today? He stared out the windshield at the garage door. You're not feeling well, honey. And do you really want him to come over? I mean, I wanted to meet this kid, but it didn't sound like Jesse wanted him over. I, however, wanted to get to the bottom of things. Yes. Okay. Do you have his parents' number? He already asked his parents, and he said it was okay. Well, we have to wait until he's out of class, and I'd still like to talk to his parents. Okay. Jesse got out of the car, and we walked into the house. You have their number? I asked as I shut the door. No. I started to ask him how I was supposed to call them if I didn't have their number, but someone knocked at the door. I was still standing right next to it. I opened the door, and standing on my front step was the pale little boy with the blue eyes and mop of white blonde hair that I'd almost run over Wednesday. A little girl with the same complexion stood next to him. Yes? Hi, Driz, the little boy said. Is Jesse home? The little boy standing on my front porch shouldn't have known that name. It was my nickname from college, created on a drunken night amongst my girlfriends, shortened from Drizzy. No. That's fine, the little girl said. My name is Devin, and you already know my brother's name. Stan. The little girl covered her mouth and giggled. Stan smiled and shrugged.
It's really quite simple. Rule 1, don't walk past mirrors in the dark. Rule 2, don't leave any doors open when you go to bed tonight. Ask your son what rule 3 is. And remember, a creak means you're falling behind. A rustle means you've almost lost. When the lights go down, hopefully you won't see the dark shadow standing in the corner of the room. Hopefully you won't hear it breathing as your eyes shut and you begin to drift off. And if you hear a bang, well, hopefully you never hear a bang.
Stan turned and walked away with his sister. I stared after them both and shook my head. I wouldn't play their stupid game. I walked into the house and found Jesse sitting at the kitchen table, crying. What's wrong? I heard a bang. My mouth went dry. When does the game end? It doesn't. It never ends. My heart started beating faster. What's the third rule, Jesse? His face fell, and he sucked in a deep breath. Rule 3. Knowing all 3 rules makes you a player. My stomach dropped. What happens if you lose? When it's dark, you'll hear them coming. They like to let you know when they're getting close. Who? Stan and Devin. They'll reach out through the mirrors or open doorways and drag you through. How do you win? You win if you tell more people the rules to the soul game than the person that told you does. And just like that, you've made it to the end. You just listened to the whole thing. Like I said, I am so sorry. But thanks for helping me. Really. I'm going to enjoy my newfound freedom. And I hope that you enjoy your night. Like I said, give Stan and Devin my best. I am so sorry. Thanks for helping me.
Thank you for your patronage. Hope you enjoyed your new relic as much as I've enjoyed passing along its sordid history. It does come with our usual warning, however. Absolutely no refunds, no exchanges, and we won't be held liable for anything that may or may not occur while the object is in your possession. If you've got an artifact with mysterious properties, perhaps it's accompanied by a history of bizarre and disturbing circumstances, maybe you'd be interested in dropping it and its story by the shop to share with other customers. Please reach out to antiquariumshop@gmail.com. A member of our team will be in touch. Till next time, we'll be waiting for you whenever you close your eyes in the space between sleep and dream. During regular business hours, of course, or by appointment, only for you, our best customer. You have a good night now.
The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings, Lot 022, The Soul Game. Written by Christopher Bloodworth. Starring Allison Cossett as Andrea, Simeon Wynn as Jesse, Jade Shand as Devin, Everett Shand as Stan. Featuring Stephen Knowles as the Antique Dealer. Engineering, production, and sound design by Trevor Shand. Theme music by the Newton Brothers. Additional music by Coag, Mew, Vivek Abhishek, Mattia Kupeli, Steve Northwest, and Kevin McLeod. The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings is created and curated by Trevor and Lauren Shand. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter @AntiquariumPod. Call the Antiquarium at 646-481-7197.
This country was built on a distinctly American work ethic, but today, work is in trouble. We've outsourced most of our manufacturing to other countries, and with that, we sent away good jobs and diminished our capability to make things. American Giant is a clothing company that's pushing back against this tide and make a variety of high-quality clothing and activewear, like sweatshirts, jeans, dresses, and jackets, and so much more. All made right here in the USA, growing the cotton and adding the final touches. So when you buy American Giant, you create jobs for seamsters, cutters, and factory workers in towns and cities across the United States. And it's about more than an income. Jobs bring pride, purpose. They stitch people together. If all that sounds good to you, visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order when you use code STAPLE20 at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with promo code STAPLE20.
What's this all about?
What about nightmares?
They can't tear out your soul.
Ominous Thrill, a full-cast anthology of horror, thrillers, and suspense.
He has deferred you to me.
I can't do anything.
No! Character-driven tales from the dark side.
I'm no psycho. I can feel them under my skin, and I had to cut them out. We can't help her. We're leaving. What? Risa, what?
A man's severed head.
I need the light. You want me to fall down the stairs?
No. I want to push you. I love you so much.
Ominous Thrill. Available now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and everywhere. Thrill you later.
We're interrupting this podcast to ask you a very important question. Have you had your Hershey's? When you need to brighten up your day, put a smile on your face with the classic creamy texture and pure milk chocolate flavor of Hershey's milk chocolate. Whether you're eating it on the go, breaking off a few pieces for s'mores night, or just treating yourself to something sweet, Hershey's milk chocolate checks all the boxes. Shop for Hershey's milk chocolate now at a store near you, found wherever candy is sold. Shopping with your parents can be embarrassing.
Why would they sell jeans with holes in them? I'm going to speak to the manager.
Mom!
That hoodie is giving. You should get it. YOLO.
Thanks to the Chase mobile app, your kid can shop independently while you keep an eye on their spending. So you can go from
We can be twinsies.
to
How was shopping? Saw you stayed on budget.
Thanks, Mom. Freedom for kids, control for parents. That's family banking from Chase.
Account subject to approval. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank NA, member FDIC.
Have you ever had to put your plans on hold due to symptoms of generalized myasthenia gravis or GMG? Like taking that weekend trip, talking with friends, or enjoying a meal? Learn about a treatment option that may help. Visit treatgmg.com to learn more. That's treatgmg.com.
Look who it is. Aren't you a sight for sore eyes? Indeed. Only a few weeks left till the big day. You get your Christmas shopping done? You know good and well you are in the right place. We got the gifts that keep on giving round here. This small jewelry box would make a perfect stocking stuffer. Go ahead, open it. Yes, a paperclip. But you know it's much more than that. This ain't your first rodeo. It's a bit of a family heirloom that I am passing on to you called My Wife Has a Removable Face. Welcome to the antiquarium of sinister happenings and odd goings on. My wife has a removable face. Welcome to the antiquarium of sinister happenings and odd goings on.
My wife has a removable face. I've never glimpsed what lies beneath it, but my best friend has. Samantha told me about it on our third date. We were watching a movie on her couch when I made my move to kiss her. She whipped her hand in front of my face and blocked me.
There's something you need to know.
I braced myself. Here it comes. I'm not ready for a relationship. Nothing to do with you, of course. It was the absolute last thing that I wanted to hear because I was already crazy about her. Wow. Okay.
I have a removable face. There's something you
That's a new one. You have a what now? Here it comes. I was about to laugh, but she was wearing a deadly, serious expression.
I have a removable face.
Is that like a metaphor or something?
No, my face is literally removable. Look closely.
She lifted her chin and traced her jawline with a finger.
You can see the seam.
After admiring how beautiful her neck was for a dizzying moment, I leaned in for inspection. It was very hard to see, but it did look like there was a slightly unnatural transition there from her face to her throat. I grew dizzy as a dozen questions rushed into my brain.
Don't bother asking why or how or anything like that. I can't tell you that. If that's going to be a problem, you should leave now. I'm letting you know this because I like you and I want to take it to the next step. But this is non-negotiable.
Okay. I said, unsure of what was happening. Not a problem. So what? You got a removable face. Who cares? It looks good.
There's something else. Once a day, usually in the evening, I have to remove the face and disinfect the inside of it. If I don't, it will rot. And this takes about an hour, give or take, depending on how my day went. During this time, you must never, ever look at my real face. Never. Do you understand?
Yeah, got it. Don't ask about it. Don't look at your real face. Samantha stood up.
Now, I'm going into the bathroom to clean my face. That will give you plenty of time to think about what I've just told you. If you're here when I'm done, that's great. I would like that. But if you're gone, I'll understand.
She turned and walked into her bedroom. I sat in stunned silence as I heard the bathroom door close. I gave the thing some serious thought. It was possible that it was a joke of some kind. It was possible that it was a delusion. Was it possible that it was true? Well, it was certainly possible to transform an actor's face with movie makeup, so I suppose it was possible that Samantha wore a removable face every day. Maybe she had had a horrible accident where her flesh had been mangled. Maybe her face had been melted by acid or burned by fire or the skin shorn off by heavy machinery. If it had, I would never know. Because she would never tell me. And I would never see it. I pictured a face of raw, naked muscle rotting away. Could I kiss her if that was what I was kissing? Or wasn't that what we all were under the skin? Just muscle and bone and blood and squishy organs. I paced around the living room, running my hand through my hair. I like Samantha a lot. She was smart and funny and beautiful. But was that beauty real? Did it count? Did it matter if it was real or not? Was I being superficial even worrying about it? When she came out of the bathroom, I was still there. I looked at her face. She smiled. And I was in love. We dated. We moved in together. We decided to get married. For the most part, it was a completely normal relationship, typical of two young people in love building a life together. During the day, it was easy to forget about the face altogether. It looked natural enough, and only in certain positions, in certain lights, was there ever any indication that it wasn't natural. But every night was the same. Samantha would close herself in the bathroom, sometimes for an hour, sometimes for 2, and clean the inside of her face. Tell you the curiosity never left me. I would sit there and wonder what was under that face. I mean, I'm being honest when I say I came so close to barging in on it a few times, but I never did. I did occasionally ask her about it. About what, if anything, had happened, about how it was possible to make the removable face look so fucking real, about what it really looked like underneath. I tried to coax her into assuring her that I loved her no matter what, and didn't give a damn what a real face looked like. I was just curious. That's all. She never showed me, or told me the story behind it. She didn't get upset at me, unless I was really badgering her. She'd just shrug and say,
You know you can't see it. You know I can't tell you about it.
I never told anybody about Samantha's removable face. It's not that she asked me not to. I just didn't think it was anybody's business. Except once. Once I did tell somebody.
So sorry to have to stop you for a quick sec, but do you hear that? Well, wouldn't you know it? The fire alarm battery is dead. Always happens at the worst times, doesn't it? Make yourself at home while I go take care of it. Only the sincerest of apologies. So sorry to have to stop you for a quick sec. Do you hear that? Well, wouldn't you know it? The fire alarm battery is dead. Always happens at the worst
We're interrupting this podcast to ask you a very important question. Have you had your Hershey's? When you need to brighten up your day, put a smile on your face with the classic creamy texture and pure milk chocolate flavor of Hershey's milk chocolate. Whether you're eating it on the go, breaking off a few pieces for s'mores night, or just treating yourself to something sweet, Hershey's milk chocolate checks all the boxes. Shop for Hershey's milk chocolate now at a store near you, found wherever candy is sold.
At Amica Insurance, we know it's more than just a house. It's your home, the place that's filled with memories. The early days of figuring it out, to the later years of still figuring it out. For the place you've put down roots, trust Amica Home Insurance. Amica, empathy is our best policy.
Have you ever had to put your plans on hold due to symptoms of generalized myasthenia gravis? or GMG, like taking that weekend trip, talking with friends, or enjoying a meal. Learn about a treatment option that may help. Visit treatgmg.com to learn more. That's treatgmg.com. Like taking that weekend trip, talking with friends.
Ah, there we go. One dead battery replaced. Too bad the same thing can't be said about our poor Sammy's face. Let's peel another layer off this one, shall we?
Except once.
Ah,
There to tell somebody.
One dead battery replaced.
It was during my bachelor party. We had rented several cabins up at Big Sur and spent the night drinking and packing our noses with powders that we shouldn't have been packing our noses with. Everybody else had passed out, and the sun was creeping up behind us as I stood on the majestic cliffs with my friend Chris, looking down on the Pacific waves crashing against the rocks. Chris was my best friend, as close to a brother as I know. We'd grown up together and visited each other at college often and spent the summers together. After college, we moved to different cities, but we stayed in close contact. Standing there over the cliffs, I told Chris about Samantha's removable face. At first, he thought I was joking. Then he had 1,000 questions, most of which I couldn't answer. What's underneath?
I don't know. I don't know.
Doesn't it drive you crazy not knowing?
Lots of stuff I don't know. Don't know how to do calculus. I don't know what happens when we die.
But dude, she's about to be your wife. And you don't even know what she looks like. I mean, I'd have to take a look. Like, you could set up a camera in the bathroom. That's where she does it, right? Set up a camera, have a look, and you'll know.
Yeah, I mean, it drives me crazy. I asked her 1,000,000 times, but she told me I can never look. I gotta respect that, man. Even if I don't like it, that's love.
You telling me to respect a woman? Up is down now.
Then we fell back into talking about old times as a new day dawned. Chris was in town for business just this last week and planned on spending the weekend at our house. The conversation at Big Sur had happened 4 years ago, and we hadn't spoken about Samantha's removable face since. Despite keeping in close contact and seeing each other as often as two people transforming into adults in different parts of the country can. It happened on Saturday evening. We were lounging lazily in the backyard, deep in the beer, having just finished with some grilled steaks, when I got a text from work. God damn it. I had to make a work call.
Seriously?
Said Samantha, raising an artificial eyebrow.
On a Saturday night?
My biggest client, baby. So sorry.
It is what it is, I guess. I'm just gonna head inside a bit and get cleaned up. Chris, are you okay just hanging out for a bit?
I'll be fine. Got my beer, got some weeds to pull in your garden. God knows your lazy ass husband isn't gonna do it. Those tomatoes are choking to death. It's a tragedy.
I rolled my eyes and went into the side yard to make my call. 15 minutes into it, I heard the screams coming from inside. Both my best friend and my wife were wailing in terror. I dropped the phone and ran into the house and down the hall to our bedroom. Through the open door, I could see that the door to the master bathroom was also standing open.
Don't come in! I don't have my face on! Call an ambulance! He looked! Oh God, he looked!
She sounded so desperate. Desperate and horrified. That made me desperate and horrified. I wanted to rush into the bathroom, but I knew suddenly that would be a mistake. I knew suddenly that Samantha didn't want me to look at her real face, not out of a sense of vanity, but for my own safety. Chris staggered backwards out of the bathroom. He was holding a straightened out paperclip, which he had used to pick the privacy lock. Now he was stabbing it again and again into his fucking eyes, shouting gibberish. He was clearly in the depths of madness, and turned my stomach to see him mutilate himself. I
turned and ran back to the side yard where my phone was lying in the newly mowed grass. My client was still on the line, alarmed, asking what was happening. But all the screaming was, I hung up on him and called 911. When the paramedics arrived, Chris was having a seizure in the hallway. Samantha was stroking his head, sobbing. Her face was on, but it had been done hastily, and everything looked a little off. When the paramedics arrived, Chris was having a seizure in the hallway. Samantha was stroking. My world has been dark this past week. My best friend is in a psychiatric hospital under suicide watch. He's completely blind and mostly catatonic, except when he slips into a violent, babbling mania. The doctors are optimistic that his state is temporary, but they don't know the truth about what caused it. Because I told the paramedics that Chris had taken a large dose of psychedelic mushrooms and fallen into psychosis. I saw no good reason to tell the truth about what had happened. Who would believe that one look at my wife's real face would make somebody insane? At best, we would be the subjects of a long investigation. At worst, we would have to prove that what we were saying was true by showing somebody Samantha's face. The same fucking thing would happen again. And what after that? I had no idea and no interest in finding out. For Samantha's part, I knew that she would never consent to show anybody her real face, no matter what the consequences of refusal were. I did get a follow-up call from the police, asking me to confirm my story. The hospital found no traces of suicide in Chris's blood, though that's not unheard of since it has a short half-life. If they end up testing his hair, I'll likely be in a lot of trouble, but that's truly the least of my concerns. Samantha, she's in a state of her own. She still cleans the inside of her face, though not as regularly. And when she puts it back on, it's always crooked. It's always crooked, and it's beginning to smell a little bit. I tried to assure her that it was not her fault. He knew, I said. I told him that nobody was ever allowed to look at it. He knew, and then he broke into the bathroom. This is not on you, baby, please. Talk to me.
Not on me? That one look at my fucking face makes people insane? Please. I just need some time alone.
As for me, doing my best to hold it together. Do you know what's strange, though? Despite what happened to Chris, I still find myself curious about what my wife's real face looks like. More curious than ever.
Thank you for your patronage. Hope you enjoyed your new relic as much as I've enjoyed passing along its sordid history. It does come with our usual warning, however. Absolutely no refunds, no exchanges, and we won't be held liable for anything that may or may not occur while the object is in your possession. If you've got an artifact with mysterious properties, perhaps it's accompanied by a history of bizarre and disturbing circumstances, maybe you'd be interested in dropping it and its story by the shop to share with other customers. Please reach out to antiquariumshop@gmail.com. A member of our team will be in touch. Till next time, we'll be waiting for you whenever you close your eyes in the space between sleep and dream. During regular business hours, of course, or by appointment, only for you, our best customer. You have a good night now.
The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings, Lot 023. My Wife Has a Removable Face. Written by N.S. Lewis. Narrated by Trevor Shand. Featuring Allison Cossett as Samantha. Conan Freeman as Chris. Featuring Stephen Knowles as the antique dealer. Engineering, production, and sound design by Trevor Shand. Theme music by the New Brothers. Additional music by Coag, Mew, Kevin MacLeod, and Vivek Abhishek. The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings is created and curated by Trevor and Lauren Shand. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at AntiquariumPod. Call the Antiquarium at 646-481-7197.
We're interrupting this podcast to ask you a very important question. Have you had your Hershey's? When you need to brighten up your day, put a smile on your face with the classic creamy texture and pure milk chocolate flavor of Hershey's milk chocolate. Whether you're eating it on the go, breaking off a few pieces for s'mores night, or just treating yourself to something sweet, Hershey's milk chocolate checks all the boxes. Shop for Hershey's milk chocolate now at a store near you, found wherever candy is sold.
At Amica Insurance, we know it's more than just a car or a house. It's 4 wheels to get you where you're going, and 4 walls that welcome you home. When you combine auto and home insurance with Amica, you help protect it all. And the more you cover, the more you can save. Amica, empathy is our best policy.
Have you ever had to put your plans on hold due to symptoms of generalized myasthenia gravis or GMG? Like taking that weekend trip, talking with friends, or enjoying a meal? Learn about a treatment option that may help. Visit treatgmg.com to learn more. That's treatgmg.com. Talking with friends.
At KeyBank, we know a small moment like, whoa, my kid's got a serious backhand, can lead to an even bigger question like, tennis campus how much? And that's the type of moment where we'll meet you to help you build a savings plan for expenses big and small so your money can make money. Mike, how's that sound?
Sounds like match point.
Sounds like love.
You could serve up tennis puns all day.
For every financial need, we'll meet you in the moment. KeyBank opens doors. KeyBank member FDIC.
File your taxes the free and easy way with TurboTax. New to TurboTax? Didn't file last year with TurboTax? No problem. Switch to TurboTax and file for free if you do your own taxes on the TurboTax mobile app by February 18th. All the tax forms you have can be assisted. All 100% free. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. New filers and filers who didn't use TurboTax last year only must start and file your own taxes in the app by February 18th. Excludes TurboTax Live. Full terms at TurboTax.com.
Thumbtack presents the ins and outs of caring for your home. Out, uncertainty, self-doubt, stressing about not knowing where to start. In, plans and guides that make it easy to get home projects done. Out, word art. Sorry, live, laugh, lovers. In, knowing what to do, when to do it, and who to hire. Start caring for your home with confidence. Download Thumbtack today. Plans and guides that make it easy to get home projects done. Out, word art.
Oh, hello. Lovely to see you, as always. Get out of that storm and come on in. Quite the doozy out there, isn't it? Here. You know, I'm not sure you've ever been in this corner of the shop before. Pull up a seat by the fire. I've got something real special for you today. Usually I let the game master handle items like this, but due to a tragically unfortunate incident, it'll be swaths of time until you're able to cross his path again. This is a rather handsome six-sided die. You know the type, commonly associated with role play, and the like. Give it a toss, and it'll take you places only a fool would dare go. It's your turn at this one called I Played a Text-Based Game on the Dark Web. Welcome to the Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings and Odd Goings On. It's your turn at this one called I Played a Text-Based Game on the Dark Web. Welcome to the Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings and Odd Goings On.
I played a text-based adventure game on the dark web. I can't undo the things I did. I spend a lot of time on Reddit. I'm sure you do too. I'm on a lot of video game subs, and in particular ones about text-based games. I'm talking games like Zork. I wasn't alive when Zork came out, but I got really into it in high school. When I made it to college, I took an even deeper dive, playing all the sequels, all the knockoffs, and every shitty game that people had cobbled together and released online. I had to refocus a bit, adding work on top of college courses so I could afford my shoebox apartment, but eventually, I came across a post called Apartment Complex. Not a super promising name, but I was bored, and it was free. And the fact that it was hosted on some weird site that I couldn't access from regular browsers appealed to me. It added an element of mystery. So I opened a Tor browser, entered the link, and got to a profile creation page. Basic stuff. Username, preferred resolution, etc. It didn't ask for any personal info, so I kept going. The screen went blank. Then a text box opened up.
Welcome to Apartment Complex. You have been assigned your very own apartment building to run, but this isn't just any apartment building. Because the tenants are going to be experiencing some pretty scary ordeals, you get to decide what happens next. Will your tenants survive? Will you accidentally butcher them all? The power is in your hands. Are you ready? Yes or no?
Why not? I typed in a Y. More text appeared.
Excellent. We'll start you off with an easy management level. You have 6 tenants, numbered 1 through 6. None of them know each other well. Enter a number to learn more about a tenant and begin to make decisions.
I grabbed a 6-sided die off my desk and rolled it. 3. I typed.
Intriguing choice. The tenant in apartment 3 is Cherie. She's 19 and a sophomore in college. All her friends know her to be outgoing and flirty, and she brings new guys back to her apartment multiple times a week. She doesn't want a commitment. She enjoys sex, but mostly she just likes not being alone. It's possible it's related to how she was repeatedly abandoned by foster parents. Tonight, she brought home a young man named Thad. She plans to have sex with Thad, and he'll pressure her not to use a condom. She'll say yes, because she doesn't want to scare him off, but you can help her out. Should tonight be the night she stands up to Thad and tells him she won't sleep with him without protection at the risk of spending the night alone? Yes or no?
I didn't realize this game would be so domestic soap opera. Whatever. Let's see how this plays out. Why?
Intriguing choice. Thad and Cherie start to get hot and heavy. When they're naked on her couch, Thad starts to try penetrating her. But Cherie stops him and says he needs to use a condom. Thad complains that it doesn't feel as good. Cherie tells him that it's more important that both of them are protected from STDs. She's feeling a little tense. Thad calls her a whore in the tease and throws his clothes back on. Cherie cries as Thad goes to storm out. Unfortunately, Cherie's door won't open. Thad checks, and the door isn't locked, but it refuses to open. Furious, Thad storms back to where Cherie is still lying naked on the couch, crying, and begins to scream at her. Would you like to continue making decisions for Cherie? Or try another tenant? 1 for Cherie, 2 for new tenant.
This game was weird and pretty retro, but I also found myself pretty intrigued by Cherie and Thad's story. The clunky stories in these games had a certain charm that made them very engaging. Fuck it, let's keep going. 1.
Intriguing choice. Thad continues to scream at Cherie, who can't stop crying. She's afraid he might hit her. Chad hasn't decided if he will or not, but plans to let his anger and lack of concern for Cherie as a human being guide his behavior. If things continue as they are, Thad will most likely beat Cherie to the point she will need to be rushed to the emergency room. Should Thad be stopped? Yes or no?
Fuck, that just got intense. Why?
Intriguing choice. A ceiling tile falls off. The edge cuts across Thad's jugular. Blood gushes everywhere. He is dead in seconds.
What the fuck? This game is whack. The text continued to appear.
Cherie is horrified. Much of the blood sprayed all over her. She's so scared. She starts to shut down. Cherie won't be taking any more actions for a while. Choose a tenant. 1, 2, 4, 5, or 6.
Damn. Looks like I'm not going to finish this game with a decent score. Keep plugging away, though. I rolled the die again. 5.
My. So sorry about the phone. Hold on just a minute while I get that. And feel free to browse around.
At KeyBank, we know a small moment like,
Ooh, these sandals would go really well with a beach.
can lead to an even bigger question like,
Should I splurge on the trip this year?
and that's the type of moment where we'll meet you with financial advice on everything from budgeting for travel to building savings. So maybe that destination isn't too far off. What do you think, Cindy?
I think these sunglasses would go well with a tiny umbrella drink.
For every financial need, we'll meet you in the moment. KeyBank opens doors. KeyBank member FDIC.
File your taxes the free and easy way with TurboTax. New to TurboTax? Didn't file last year with TurboTax? No problem. Switch to TurboTax and file for free if you do your own taxes on the TurboTax mobile app by February 18th. All the tax forms you have can be assisted. All 100% free. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. New filers and filers who didn't use TurboTax last year only must start and file your own taxes in the app by February 18th. Excludes TurboTax Live. Full terms at TurboTax.com.
Angel Reese de McDonald's tiene la clave para el post-game meal de campeones. Una chupici con salsa barbecue y tocino, papitas y un refresco. Los pros le llaman el Angel Reese Special. Llévate el Angel Reese Special solo en McDonald's. Invitamos participantes por tiempo limitado.
My sincerest apologies. Just my AC guy, who might as well be a Christmas angel at this point. He's on his way to fix the darn heater, but we still have a while. No bother. Let's buzz back into the apartment complex, shall we?
I rolled the die again. 5.
Intriguing choice. The tenant in apartment 5 is Clyde. He's 35 and works at the local First State Bank. His hobbies include snowboarding, tennis, recreational murder, 90s sitcoms, and fishing. He's home alone tonight after his girlfriend Alicia texted him and told him she was leaving him for his brother. He bought a gallon of chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream and is working his way through that in the 3rd season of Frasier. He feels the itch to strangle someone. It's been a while, and he's trying to kick the habit. But the deep well of emotion seems to be so deep that ice cream alone can't fill it. He's hoping to quench the urge with a TV binge. But just as he's settling in, he starts to smell gas. Should he investigate? Yes or no?
Not investigating would be boring, so of course I typed in a Y.
Intriguing choice. He's familiar enough with gas leaks to know that he's one spark away from Clyde Flambe. Should Clyde leave or keep sucking up the fumes? 1. Clyde leaves. Or 2. Clyde stays.
Seems weird to release the murderer, I thought. But it would be boring to just gas him to death. I type a 1.
Intriguing choice. Clyde exits his apartment and heads down the stairs to the front door. When he makes it to the floor below his, he sees that the stairs are blocked by fallen ceiling tiles. There are stairs on the opposite side of the floor. On the way, he would pass 2 other apartments, which would likely have phones to call the fire department to handle the gas leak. Should he stop at the first apartment? 1. The second apartment? 2. Or take the stairs? 3.
1.
Intriguing choice.
That was it. No more text. What the hell? And then there was a knock on my door. I froze.
Hey, anyone home? My name's Clyde. I live on the floor above you. And my phone isn't working and my apartment smells like gas. Can I borrow yours?
I sat as still as I could, making no sound.
Seriously, it's an emergency. Pretty sure I heard some noises in there. I need help.
On my screen, I saw more text pop up.
Should Clyde keep trying the first apartment? 1. Try the next apartment. 2. Or take the stairs on the far end of the floor. 3.
As gently as I could, I pressed 2. The clack of the key sounded like a gunshot in my head. I saw more text pop up.
Should Clyde keep trying the first apartment? 1. Try the next apartment. 2. Or take the stairs
I
on
heard
the
his
far end of the
footsteps go
floor.
down the hall. The apartment building I'm in is new and pretty well insulated, but I could faintly hear knocking on the apartment down the hall from me. I knew a college girl lived there. Hopefully she isn't home. Wait, college girl? No, it couldn't be. Text started filling up my screen again.
Clyde went to the next apartment and knocked on the door. He heard sobbing from inside. When the tenant inside didn't open the door, he tried the knob. It turned, but the door wouldn't budge. It looked like it was misaligned, and with the heat wave, the wood had swollen and jammed the door in place.
Suddenly, I heard a smash from outside. I tore my eyes to look at my front door, but it was still solidly shut. The sound had come from down the hall. I looked back at my screen.
Clyde used his shoulder to slam the door, and it popped open. He stepped in, calling to whoever was in the apartment. Walking further in, he saw a shocking sight. A man on the ground, his neck slashed open. A ceiling tile on the ground next to him. On the couch, a completely naked young woman, and, covering everything, a massive splatter of blood. Clyde grinned. Are you going to help Cherie? Leave your apartment and go to hers, or do nothing while Clyde murders her. 1.
This was so messed up. I couldn't just let someone murder my neighbor, even if I barely knew her. But I was terrified. I got up, ran into my kitchen, grabbed the biggest knife I could find, then went to my door. I took 3 deep breaths to steady myself, then I unlocked the door, threw it open, and ran out into the hall. I looked over to where the other apartment was, and I could see where the door had been broken in. I ran as quietly as I could over there, and when I reached the door, I stopped short and stuck my head around the door frame to see what was going on. Unfortunately, I couldn't see what was happening from where I was. I crept in as stealthily as I could. The first thing that hit me was the bitter stench of blood. I got close enough to see what was happening. Cherie was on her back on the couch. Clyde leaning over her with his hands around her throat. She was scratching at him. The blood made everything slick, and it looked like her nails were sliding around more than doing damage. I ran up to them and drove my knife straight into Clyde's back. He roared and whirled around. He yelled and dove at me, tackling me to the ground. He started pummeling me with his fists. There was little I could do to stop him. With each blow, I felt myself getting weaker, my vision going darker. And then Clyde screamed. I focused as best as I could. Above Clyde, Cherie was raising a knife for another blow. She stabbed Clyde over and over until he collapsed on top of me. And then she stabbed him some more. I screamed at her to stop, to let me up, and eventually I broke through her terror. She helped me push his body off. I threw a blanket around Cherie and then called the cops. We spent a lot of time going over our stories with them. I left out the dark web stuff because I didn't want to get in trouble. Finally, the cops left. Cherie went to go stay with her parents, and I went back to my apartment. When I got back, words were flashing on my screen.
Remember, everything that happened tonight was your choice.
And below that,
we hope you play Apartment Complex again.
And I went back to my apartment. When I got back, words were flashing on my screen.
Remember, everything that happened tonight was your choice. We hope you play Apartment Complex again.
Thank you for your patronage. Hope you enjoyed your new relic as much as I've enjoyed passing along its sordid history. It does come with our usual warning, however. Absolutely no refunds, no exchanges, and we won't be held liable for anything that may or may not occur while the object is in your possession. If you've got an artifact with mysterious properties, perhaps it's accompanied by a history of bizarre and disturbing circumstances, maybe you'd be interested in dropping it and its story by the shop to share with other customers. Please reach out to antiquariumshop@gmail.com. A member of our team will be in touch. Till next time, we'll be waiting for you whenever you close your eyes in the space between sleep and dream. During regular business hours, of course, or by appointment, only for you, our best customer. You have a good night now.
The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings, Lot 024. I played a text-based adventure game on the dark web. Written by L.H.K. Forney. Narrated by Conan Freeman. Starring Trevor Shand as the game. Allison Cossack as Cherie. Featuring Stephen Knowles as the antique dealer. Engineering, production, and sound design by Trevor Shand. Theme music by the News Brothers. Additional music by Coag and Vivek Abhishek. The Antiquarium of Sinister Happenings is created and curated by Trevor and Lauren Shand. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at AntiquariumPod. Call the Antiquarium at 646-481-7197. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at AntiquariumPod. Call the Antiquarium at 646.
File your taxes the free and easy way with TurboTax. New to TurboTax? Didn't file last year with TurboTax? No problem. Switch to TurboTax and file for free if you do your own taxes on the TurboTax mobile app by February 18th. All the tax forms you have can be assisted, all 100% free. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. New filers and filers who didn't use TurboTax last year only must start and file your own taxes in the app by February 18th. Excludes TurboTax Live. Full terms at TurboTax.com.
Angel Reese y McDonald's tienen la clave para un post-game meal de campeones. Una chupici con salsa barbecue y tocino, papitas y un refresco. Los pros le llaman el Angel Reese Special. Llévate el Angel Reese Special solo en McDonald's. Invitados participantes por tiempo limitado.
What about nightmares? They can't tear out your soul anymore.
Ominous Thrill, a full-cast anthology of horror, thrillers, and suspense.
And he has to throw you up to me.
I didn't do anything. No! Character-driven tales from the dark side.
I'm no psycho. I'm hungry for your vengeance. I can feel them under my skin, and I had to cut them out. We can't help her. We're leaving. What, Risa? What? A man's severed head.
I need the light. You want me to fall down the stairs?
No. I want to push you. I love you so much.
Ominous Thrill. Available now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and everywhere. Thrill you later.
Come on in, friend. Come on in. From the look of your face, I would say you are as glad to be here as I am to have you. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you snuck out on all the festive family fun to take a little time for yourself. Yes, sometimes the holidays are a little less than jolly. I've got a handful of items that arrived this morning that are even a little less than that. This, for instance, is a beautiful 100-year-old Vertex timepiece. For some reason, I just can't get it to sync up. But first, a rather intimate consignment, a handwritten love letter in a gilded frame. Get ready for a couple of twisted affairs I call 12 Years Late and My Love. Welcome to the antiquarium of sinister happenings and odd goings on. Get ready for a couple of twisted affairs I call 12 Years Late and My Love. Welcome to the antiquarium of sinister happenings and odd goings on.
My love, I've always loved you. Since we were children. The day you helped me get down from that tree was the day I fell in love with you. I know you probably don't remember it. It was so long ago, my love. But I'm writing you this letter to tell you that my love for you is undying no matter what. I will love you forever. I love the way you look when you get up in the morning. I love the way you act when you think no one's watching. I love the way you always smile at me in the hallway and say good morning. But that's enough of that, as you probably already realized I adore you. Of course, there are things I don't like about you, too. I don't like the way you look at other girls sometimes. I don't like it when you do little things like flirt with other girls or give them your number. I especially don't like the new cameras you started installing. It makes it harder to look at you through the window. My love, I know you love me too. It's just you find it hard to express the way you love me because it's hard for you to find me. I know I got very good at hiding. But my love, don't go looking for that woman anymore. I don't like it when you see other girls and you'll never see her again, so stop looking. I don't care how much she claims to love you. Just know I will always love you more, so give up looking for her and stay with me instead. Best of wishes, my love.
Are you one of those people that are always late? No, I mean like constantly, chronically late. To the point where your friends start to give you a fake earlier time just to make sure you're not late? Well, I was one of those people. I still am, actually, but not through any choice of mine. It started off, weirdly enough, as a simple technological glitch. I would have a time set on my phone, go to my meetup or appointment, and find that my phone was running a few minutes behind. Honestly, in this day and age, I didn't think anyone could have the wrong time on their phone. But then it started to get worse. After a month, I found that I was half an hour late for everything. And after 2 months, I was coming into work a full hour late. I tried everything. I adjusted the time on my phone, changed my time zone. I started actively coming in earlier than what the time was, but absolutely nothing changed. Eventually, I stopped using the time on my watch. I bought a new watch, an analog watch, and matched it with the time in the giant clock in the city. After the time on my watch was matched exactly with that of the giant clock, I turned away. I closed my eyes and counted to 10. Please. Please. Be the right fucking time. I turned around and looked at the giant clock. My heart sank. 2.5 hours had passed. I didn't know what to do or who to turn to. I wandered the streets of the city. My friends had all stopped talking to me at this point. I apparently wouldn't return texts for days. My tardiness at work eventually got me fired. And so, with absolutely nowhere to be, I simply walked the city. Every now and then I would go back to the giant clock to look at the time. I can't remember now when all this started or how long I've walked the city. But the giant clock reminds me. The last time I checked, it's been 6,312,200 minutes since I started walking. I'm 12 years late. The last time I checked, it's been 6,312,000.
And I thought I was always running a bit behind. Tell you what, I'm going to grab a couple of more things out of the back room that I just must share with you. You know the routine.
Make yourself at home. Feel free to peruse your shop. I'll get you.
Tell you what, I'm going to grab a couple more things out of the back room that I just must share with you. All right, thank you so much for your patience. I sincerely appreciate it. The voices here in the walls do too. You hear them, don't you? They say the oddest things. Good to keep them company, but best not to listen. Let's go on and get back to the matter at hand, shall we?
My neighbor puts her ear to the wall whenever I'm on Zoom with my therapist. I'm not exaggerating when I say Allison was the worst person to ever walk the earth. Ask anybody in my apartment complex and they'll tell you the same thing. Whether it's the maintenance man she routinely woke up at 2 a.m. to replace flickering light bulbs, or Mrs. Richardson, who she almost headbutted for having a jar of peanut butter in her grocery bag, because apparently we all had to amend our eating habits to accommodate Her Royal Highness's allergies. I, of course, lived right next door to her, which meant the only thing separating us was a thin sheet of cardboard. A herd of coked-up elephants would have made less racket than Allison. And I'm not saying she couldn't sing, but 3 months ago she belted out a rendition of Chandelier by Sia, and nobody's seen the Johnson's cats since. Poor Mittens. Unfortunately, just like how I heard everything in her apartment, she heard mine. During the very first Zoom with my therapist, right as I dug into a painful childhood memory about getting gum in my hair, I got revenge on the bully responsible by baking cookies laced with laxative and offering him some. Allison's TV fell silent. Then she shuffled closer to the wall. A simple coincidence, right? Wrong. Usually it sounded like that woman was tap dancing and setting off fireworks at the same time. Yet the second I turned on my emotional faucet and let the grief pour out, she became a regular fucking church mouse. I wanted to slap the shit out of her, but she had 30 pounds on me. I needed to get creative. One morning I stepped into the elevator right as Allison accosted Mrs. Donnelly for getting her Zimmer frame stuck at the threshold. What a bitch, I said to Allison after the sliding doors finally closed. Right? Earning her trust wasn't hard. One mention of Love Island and she had a sudden attack of verbal diarrhea.
Oh my God, I love
From then on, during our encounters in the hall, we chatted. Once or twice, she even turned up at my door with a bottle of vodka, and seeing as I wanted to maintain the charade, we got drunk together. Then one afternoon, as I returned home, I went into the hall and said, I handed over a plate of cookies wrapped in foil. 10 minutes later, I booted my laptop and waved hello to my therapist. How have you been? Bad, I said, sighing loudly. Next door, Allison moved closer. And for once, I found myself grateful there was no way to block out the sounds. Because now I could hear Allison decide a little snack would go well with the entertainment. I could hear her cough and splutter, hear her struggle for air. I could hear her thump the wall, trying to warn me her throat had closed over, that she needed help. And then, after a few minutes, I could hear nothing except silence. Sweet, sweet silence.
It started with my sister. She was 8. She was kind and gentle. She was smart, which is why it never made any sense to me why she'd go into the woods on her own. We were careful, always. Mama taught us to forage for chicken in the woods, to differentiate between cow parsnip and water hemlock, and never to go past a dead log